This is a Miami Sports Music Podcast Network production. This is the #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers, let's go.
I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter column. Whole squad been trained to go.
What's up, baby? How y'all doing today? Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. Good morning to my Finlaws, my family. Super excited to be hanging out with y'all today. For those of you who don't know, my name is Steven Daniels. You can follow me on all social media at StevenDSKPL. Spread kindness, positivity, and love. Make sure y'all do that there. Make sure you all do that. All right. Also, want to remind you guys as well to follow Miami Sports Music everywhere at Miami Sports Music, except on Twitter where we are at MIA Sports Music. All right. Make sure y'all do that. Also, want to remind you all to hit the like button on your way in. Make sure you do that. It's a big deal. It helps us grow. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Just hit the like button. Also, if you want to subscribe to Miami Sports Music Podcast Network, hit the bell notification and make sure you hit all. So that way, anytime we go live here at Clock Blockers or Solo D drops some new music, or we're just doing a new podcast, whatever it may be, you get notified for anything that you do. On your way in today, if you want to sign up to become a member, there are plenty of seats waiting at the table for you. In the description below, you'll see sign up to become a member here on our YouTube channel. If you want to do that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and become a member today. There are plenty of seats waiting at the table for you. If you want to help the channel grow monetarily, there's a few different ways you can do that. You can use the YouTube live super chat, which is the $ below the bottom of the chat. You can give there. Or you can also give through Cash App or PayPal, $ MSM Podcast Network, or use the QR code that's on your screen, or MSM Podcast Network, or use the QR code that is on your screen. All right. Also, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors of the show, ZSM Sports. ZSM Sports, the #1 place to get your cards, jerseys, balls, and hard-to-find items. Make sure you follow ZSM Sports today, especially on Instagram at SportsZSM. Hit up Zach. He's got everything you need. He's absolutely amazing, and it is the best place to get your sports memorabilia. Lime, less is more events. Lime tickets, giving you less than the competition. They're less than the competition, allowing you to have more fun. Give them a call today at 202-930-3533 and make sure you get everything that you need there. All the tickets, concerts, games, whatever it may be. Lime tickets is the place to go. And then Tailgreeter, download the app today on your current Crapple. Yeah, I said Crapple, or Android devices, whatever they may be. Download the app today. It's absolutely free. Remember, we got 3 big, awesome events coming up for you Miami Dolphin fans. This coming up year in Baltimore, we're going to do the Baltimore Beatdown. We got a Saturday night meet and greet. We're going to do game tickets. We have upper level and lower level available. All-inclusive tailgate. We have bundle packages available. Go to Tailgreeter, type in Baltimore Beatdown. You can also do FedEx Takeover for the Washington game. Same exact thing. If you go to Tailgreeter, type in FedEx Takeover, you'll see that. Or you can go to Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts versus Tua. It's going to be a great game. You guys can also search Philly Finvasion. All right. And remember, we also have hotel packages lined up with that too, as you can see there in Philadelphia, as well as FedEx Takeover in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So we got everything taken care of, all your needs taken care of for those trips. So if you guys want to come to a game, it is the best place to go. All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show. I'm super excited for this next segment that we're going to do today. We're going to start off with some baseball today. Why is that? Because, well, baseball is absolutely amazing, and I don't get to do a lot of the podcast to be able to talk baseball. And I've had a few different people on over the years. We had Xavier Scruggs, who's on ESPN. He started this segment back to back. And so, you know, there's different people that have done some baseball stuff with me. That I'm bringing on somebody new, somebody you guys have never met. He's not part of the Miami community at all, but he's a former Division I pitcher in college baseball. Just wrapped up his senior year. Doesn't know what he's about to do just yet as far as baseball is concerned, but it looks like minor leagues, coaching could be something, or front office could be something that he's doing. But he's a good friend of mine, and we were talking. I was like, I want to do more baseball content. And he's like, well, we can talk. So we're going to do that this morning. We're going to throw back-to-back a baseball segment up, and I'm super excited about it. And without further ado, let me bring in the guest. You guys are meeting him for the first time, from Towson University, pitcher, just finished college. Ladies and gentlemen, Cam Clark. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, Steve? How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Super excited that you're on, man. You ready to talk some baseball? We get to play baseball today.
We could do this all day.
We could do this all day. So for those of the people that don't know, just introduce yourself a little bit. You'll pretty much repeat kind of what I just said, but what's your baseball background?
So I just recently finished up my playing career at Towson University in Maryland, Division I, part of the CAA conference. I actually played there for 5 years because of the COVID year. I was able to play another year. So, I obviously wanted to take full advantage of that. So I played my 5th year. I had a great experience. Big thank you to the coaching staff, my teammates, just overall had a really good experience. I was actually a walk-on, so I kind of made it out the mud, as some would say. And then I finished second all-time in appearances as a reliever. So I finished with 98 appearances in my career. Few really good years. Freshman year was obviously crazy, going from the jump from high school to Division I baseball. My brother played, but I had to experience it firsthand, and to say the least, it's a jump.
Well, I'm super excited that we have you on today. Cam, we have another Cam that's usually on Thursdays. He's just not here this week. He'll be back next week. So there's some people in here. What's up with this this fake Cam? No, guys. Cameron Scott, Cam will be back next week. Don't worry your little heads. But I wanted to be able to get some really good baseball content into this. All right, let's kind of get started. We'll start with the weekend. We just went through the All-Star break, went through the home run derby, went through the All-Star game. What were your takeaways from the home run derby and the All-Star game this week?
I think overall it's such a good event. I mean, it's good for the fans, but it's also good for the players. I mean, the grind that they're doing on a daily basis, it's obviously it's a full-time job, but I mean, the stress they're putting on their minds and their bodies, they need a break. And after playing half a year, I mean, they only get a couple days off, but those couple days off, they're still doing, the training doesn't stop, the practice doesn't stop. So as much as it is the All-Star break, they're still full-fledged, pedal to the metal, training, working out and stuff like that. But in regards to home run derby, I think the home run derby is great. I think they got to go back to 10 outs though. I see a lot of guys on Twitter kind of saying the same stuff where, they're hitting these mammoth home run shots and you can't even admire them because the whole idea is,
just so many home runs in a certain amount of time. Where back in the day, you had 10 outs and you had to get the most out of 10 outs. Which version do you like better?
So initially I had liked getting rid of the 10 outs, but then I think, seeing this year's home run derby and seeing just the marathon of, okay, like, let's see how many home runs we can hit in 3 minutes, and then if you hit one 440, you get the extra 30 seconds, stuff like that. So I'm a fan of the 10 out home run derby, and I think the bracket appeals to the fans. But when you've got Julio Rodriguez hitting 41 home runs, and then you've got Adley Rutschman hitting 27 home runs, he doesn't even advance to the next round.
He had the third most home runs in the first round and didn't even advance. And by the way, I'll say this: I also think that it was probably the most impressive home run thing I've ever seen. Him switching sides of the plate was just unreal.
Yeah, and then, of course, you got all the guys on Twitter saying, like, oh, he should have hit righty the whole time. But, I mean, if you dive deeper into the numbers, Adley has better power from the left side. So, yeah, he may have went 6 for 8 or 7 for 8, whichever it may have been in the extra time righty. Statistically backed, his power numbers are better from the left side. So,
well, look, he's a young phenom and he's a young kid, and I'm excited to see him. I agree with you. We'll go to the All-Star game. One of the things that's gotten a lot of trending about the All-Star game from Seattle this week was the jerseys, believe it or not. Back in the day, they used to wear their own jerseys, right? The American League or National League, one would wear like their away jerseys, and the other league would wear their home jerseys. But now they got the American League and National League jerseys. This has been trending on Twitter for like the last 48 hours. What is your thought about the jerseys
I'm a
thing?
fan of I guess you could say the old school way of, wearing your own jersey. I think it's cool to, to see the field and see whether it's an Angels and an Orioles guy in the infield at the same time or whatever it may be. I saw a picture of Trout and Jeter both in their own jerseys at the All-Star game, and I thought that was pretty cool. And like, well, I think obviously the goal is to, appeal to the fans and, to grow baseball. But I think you actually grow baseball more by showing the differences. And when you see the different jerseys, you're appealing to more people. Actually, it's with
I think they
the,
I think they should do the American League jerseys and the National League jerseys for the Home Run Derby day,
yes, yes.
and
I
then
think,
and
I
then their
think,
home jerseys and away jerseys for the All-Star
yeah,
game.
I think for the actual game, you should wear your team's jerseys, but all the activities leading up to it, I think you should have a specific all-star jersey type thing, which like pretty much what they wore during the game. But I think they should wear those jerseys in all the activities.
When the All-Star game came to Washington, D.C., to my area, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. My dad and I went for everything. We did the Celebrity All-Star game, the Home Run Derby, the All-Star game. And I tell people it was one of the wildest things I've ever done as a sports fan. It was one of the coolest things we've ever done. And I highly recommend to it that if people get a chance to go next year. I think it's in I forget where it is.
I'm not sure where it is next year, but I mean, I had buddies in Seattle go to pretty much the whole thing, the Home Run Derby, the All-Star game, and everything, and like they're posting all over their social media. And like I've never had the chance to go to one just because I just haven't. And I mean, it looks like a heck of a time. So it's definitely something on my radar to do in the future at some point.
All right, let's get into stuff around the league. Obviously, we're Miami sports, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Miami Marlins here. Just looking at the standings right now in the NL East, Miami sits 8.5 games back out of first, but they're 53-39. They are I think they're the fourth best team in the National League right now. They're really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm excited about them. This kind of came out of nowhere. Didn't expect Miami to be this good this year. What are your thoughts about the Miami Marlins this year, Cam?
I mean, I think what they have done and what they've been able to accomplish in a short amount of time, their front office has done just a phenomenal job with, in the draft, acquiring guys, when they're sellers, they make sure to get the haul back that they can get. I mean, what their front office has done has set them up for success in the future. And even the Pablo Lopez for Luis Arias trade. I mean,
that's a crazy trade looking back on it now. Miami won that trade by $1 million.
It's a crazy trade. I mean, don't get me wrong. Pablo Lopez is absolutely shoving right now and probably pitching some of the best he's ever pitched in his career. He's on a crazy streak right now. But, a trade like that, the
both
Marlins
teams won, but I think the Marlins made out better personally because
I agree with you. I think the Marlins made out better because if you look at the depth of their farm system and even at the major league level, the Marlins have a ton of depth with pitching. And, I even was looking at some Marlins stuff this morning, and the things they're going to need to do at the deadline are they're going to need to move a few pitching prospects to, try and beef up that lineup a little bit because while you've got Soler and Arias doing well, you need some other pieces.
Jorge Soler's career has kind of been a very interesting thing. He's been great, been bad. He's been released. He's been signed. He's been good. Now he's an all-star again in Miami. Talk about a roller coaster of a career, Jorge Soler. I'm a big fan of his, and I'm rooting for him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody remembers him hitting that home run on the train tracks in Houston of the World Series. But I mean, there's been a lot that's gone on before that, after that, and everything in between. I mean, I remember watching baseball, and Jorge Soler was like an automatic strikeout for like at points in his career where he was just, not seeing the ball well, really big swing and miss problems. And then he has now gone to Miami and he's playing great. It's really cool to see, because I mean, that's what people don't realize that, the ups and the downs, they may be professional athletes and they are the best at their sport. But I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of, sleepless nights of trying to figure out what the heck you can do to get back to where you once were. So it's really cool for a guy like him to, move around and, go back to the All-Star game and stuff like that.
So Miami's sitting 8.5 games back out of first place behind the Atlanta Braves, who are essentially probably the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
Can Miami figure out a way to compete with them for the title, or is this just wild card at best, and then do what you got to do in the 3, 5, and 7 game series to move on?
I'll be completely honest, I don't think they got a shot at the division just because of how good the Braves are playing and how good the Braves are. I mean, the Braves are so deep. They're doing all this without Max Fried. They don't even have Max Fried in their rotation right now, which is crazy to think about. And I think he just had a rehab start the other day down in like Double-A. So I mean, he's coming back. So I mean, the Braves are averaging
without making a trade, which is so
exactly. That's such a crazy way to put it, and it's the truth. I mean, the Braves went on this crazy run without their best pitcher, and they're averaging over 6 runs a game, and they're on pace to break the home run record. And I mean,
the run differential is 140 plus 147.
Yeah,
is that not insane?
I mean, that's just unfair. It is just unfair. And like the crazy thing is, their big thing with the Braves was they lost Dansby in the offseason, and what are you going to do? How are you going to replace an all-star shortstop? He's one of the best defenders in all of baseball, and they don't make a big move. They stay in-house. They put Orlando Arcia there, and all of a sudden he's starting in the All-Star game.
Yep.
So it's just a credit
what
to.
Do they have eight All-Stars?
Yeah, it's something insane. It's just a credit to their player development, their coaching staff, and even their front office for having the belief in, Arcia to be able to get the job done. And Ron Washington does a great job of his like infield prep and infield teaching is the top notch. That is the guy to go to for infield. I mean, every single one of his infielders made the All-Star team.
What happened with the Mets? Why did the Mets take this dive? They're 18.5 games back. As far as the wild card's concerned, I don't even think that they're really in it in the wild card right now. Looking at the wild card standings, the top 3 teams in the NL are Miami, Arizona, and San Francisco, and New York's, 7 games out of the wild card. I don't think they have a shot, but they spent all this money, and they're just horrible right now.
Yeah, I mean, so the Mets, people are. This season is letting people forget that they collapsed last year as well. They were one of the best teams in all of baseball, and they absolutely collapsed at the end of the year last year. And like if you remember, they blew that big division lead to the Braves. I mean, I don't know. At one point, they were up 10 plus games on the Braves, and they didn't even win the division. But I mean, the Mets to go out there and to sign Verlander and to pretty much get whoever you want. But Steve Cohen as an owner, he's got more money than God, as people say. I mean, he's going to get whoever he wants to get. So for them the product that they're putting on the field is disappointing, especially because I'm a Baltimore guy, so I love Buck Showalter. I mean, he managed the Orioles for all those years.
I love Buck too.
Yes, I mean, I love Buck Showalter, and me and my dad were talking about it a couple days ago. If it wasn't Buck as the manager, he would be fired because of the lack of.
I don't think this is Buck's fault, though.
I don't think it's Buck's fault.
Yeah.
And see, that's the tough thing about baseball is that I don't think it's Buck's fault either. But you know how it always goes. If your team's not playing well, the coach gets fired.
And Buck's been at the short end of a lot of sticks. I mean, he was the manager for the Yankees in '95, gets fired.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe Torre comes in '96, and they win the World Series.
Yeah. So I mean, it's exactly. And
then I think the same thing happened to him in Arizona. He was the manager in Arizona, gets fired. They win the World Series next year.
Exactly.
And unbelievable. Everywhere he went, with the exception of Baltimore. He was always really good and just could never get him over the hump. All right. Just looking around the league, we'll stay in the NL for a little bit. The division leaders, Dodgers, and out in the West, and Cincinnati in the Central, playing absolutely amazing ball right now. Give us your thoughts on the Dodgers and the Reds leading their respective divisions.
I mean, the Dodgers are going to do it every single year. Dave Roberts, great manager, and just the guys they have on that team, that squad is amazing. Like you get a guy like Jason Hayward, who he's been struggling the past couple of years, kind of bouncing around, goes to LA, reunites with Freddie Freeman. They have a great relationship. They're both playing great baseball. I mean, they're so deep. It's so crazy. I mean, they've got all the money in the world too, so they have the ability to sign just about anyone, but they do a great job at developing guys, and everyone expects them to play well. It's pretty cool to see the Diamondbacks kind of chasing their tail a little bit though, but overall,
they spent money in the offseason too.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the Dodgers they're doing what people expect to be in first place and stuff like that. So,
You know,
and then the Reds have been phenomenal.
to me they've been the most fun team to watch in the year right now. They've been a dark horse. They've come out of nowhere. They're 9 games above 500, and they got some young playing there that just looks young talent there that just looks absolutely amazing. Diaz obviously being one of them, and then a lot of the other young talent that's there. And it goes without saying, they're just doing the right stuff in Cincinnati for the first time in a long time, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Ever since they brought up Ella De La Cruz, I mean, they've been one of the best teams in baseball, and it's been exciting to watch. And it's cool to see when teams promote these younger guys, just how much it can truly change. I mean, being a Baltimore fan, ever since we promoted Adley, we've won over 100 games, and been one of the best teams in baseball. And you're seeing that firsthand with the Reds, with Ella De La Cruz and bringing up Andrew Abbott and those types of guys. And they're another team who's finding success pretty quick after a rebuild. I mean, just last year they were selling everybody they had, whether it was Drury or Luis Castillo, and guys in that Luis Castillo trade are already making an impact at the major league level. So it's really cool to see. But I mean, I just saw that comment. People do have the the thought that it's all going to come crashing down, just like how people kind of thought with the Orioles last year. Which, I mean, the Orioles finished above 500. You really couldn't ask for anything more. So I think if the Reds were to be this year's Orioles, I mean, I don't know how, as a Cincinnati fan, you could be upset.
All right, a couple of teams that I know some of the fans that are currently watching that are fans of. We'll just briefly touch on them. I got a lot of Cubs fans in the chat. Tell me what you think about the Cubs. They're 42-47. They're 7 games out of the division. They're what, five games below 500. But to be honest, they're right in the thick of it. And
yeah, so the Cubs are in
weeks,
a weird spot because, I mean, they've got a shot to still make the wild card. I mean,
they could win the division if Cincinnati falls apart. Let's be honest.
Exactly. And some people would say that Cincinnati eventually is going to kind of this luck will run out and they will go back to being, whether it's just an average team or it's going to be hard to continue to play the way they're playing for the rest of the year. But I mean, the Cubs are in a weird spot because what do you do? Do you trade guys? What do you do with Marcus Stroman? I mean, he's having a great year, and Justin Steele. I mean, they're both all-stars. But what do you do with them? Because they're not in the playoff picture right now, but you know how baseball can go. It can swing. In 3 games, they could all of a sudden be in the playoffs. If they win 3 and whoever, is out of that wild card loses 3 in a row, they could swing their way into the playoffs. And I mean, some people say they have the best defense in all of baseball. And sorry to the Cubs fans,
they're the only team in the division with a plus run differential.
Yeah, which is crazy. And you got to credit a lot to the defense. Obviously, the offense is the one scoring the runs. But sorry to the Cubs fans. I've been seeing on Twitter a lot of the Cubs pitching stats are so good because they have the best defense in all of baseball. And between Nico Horner and Dansby Swanson and Bellinger, their run scored is like out the wazoo.
St. Louis Cardinals. I got a couple of Cardinals fans in here as well. They're sitting in last place, 11 games out. When your team after the All-Star break is just completely out of it, what is the best thing for those franchises to do in baseball? Are they sellers? Are they trying to beef up their farm system? What's their best move at this point?
Yeah, so it's funny. The Cardinals GM actually just came out and said they're ready to sell at the deadline, which is super disappointing. I mean, just last year they were in the playoffs and, super exciting with all that stuff going on with Pujols last year. But
Nolan Arenado could be on the block too, which is crazy. I'd be interested. We'll talk about him here in a minute. We're going to talk about potential trade pieces.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Cardinals they're in a full sale. They're in such a weird spot though, because they've got a lot of young guys and they've got a lot of guys that are on the older side, but the proven guys like the Goldschmidts and the Arenados are 2 of the best at their position. But they are older, they are on bigger contracts. So what do you do with those types of guys? And, I mean, no one saw this coming with the Cardinals this year. So is this something that can all be fixed next year? By next year, will they go back to being, the same team they were a year ago. So they're in a tough spot where how much do they truly sell? And obviously they're not going to buy anything, but what are they willing to give up?
What can they
And
get versus somebody like Nolan Arenado?
I mean, that would get them a prospect haul. They would get.
Are we talking what the Orioles got for Manny Machado with the Dodgers a few years back, 5-for-1 deal?
Probably. You're probably right in that same position. And I mean, if you're able to trade for Arenado, you're getting right off the bat. So there's no risk to acquire Arenado because you're only going to get the reward.
All right, a couple of other teams I just want to briefly touch on in the NL before we move to the American League. San Diego Padres sitting at 43-47. They got Juan Soto. They got Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
They have Manny Machado. Why are they 4 games below 500 and 8.5 back out of the division? Can you explain to me why they are just not raking everybody? It makes no sense to me.
And I guess the toughest part for them is that even the players on the team have publicly come out and said this makes no sense. Like Xander Bogaerts, they'd gotten swept by the Nationals a couple weeks ago, and Xander Bogaerts in a post-game conference was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we are the Padres and we just got swept by the Nationals. Like, that shouldn't be happening. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to tell you guys. We don't know what's wrong. And I think Bob Melvin's taken a little bit of crap for it. But I mean, overall, I don't know what the issue would be because, you look down the lineup, it's full of all-stars.
They have an all-star team. You do realize that.
They have an all-star team. Yeah, 1 to 9, they have an all-star team. And, they've got one of the best relievers in baseball in Josh Hader. So, like, you put it all together and you're like, oh, this team's, first place.
They're shoo-in for a World Series, and they're not. And it's perplexing to me. I have no idea.
It's going to be an uphill battle the whole second half of the way because, they need to make up some ground. And it's crazy. I was actually looking up some of the stuff today, and I just ordered a Hofstra ball cap. That's funny. That's funny. I was just looking at the Padres today, and their GM came out and said they're going to be aggressive at the deadline. So they're somehow going to try and be buyers again. I don't know how they're not.
All right. So the name, and we'll talk about him. We'll talk about him here in a little bit, is Ohtani. They can't afford him with everything that they have.
You just signed Bogaerts. You just re-signed Manny to a bigger. You're going to be paying Manny till he's like 43. You've got Tatis on a 13-year deal.
The Bobby Bonilla treatment. That's what he's going to get.
You've got Tatis on a 13-year deal, and you've got Soto. You just gave up your best prospects to get Juan Soto, and if you let him walk, hindsight's 20/20. But you're going to be looking back and say, oh, what could we have done with C.J. Abrams? What could we have done with Mackenzie Gore? What could we have done with Hassel? What could we have done with James Wood? They traded James Wood away, and he's immediately a top 5 prospect in baseball a year later. So that would be a punch in the gut because you already lost Josh Bell. Josh Bell's gone. So that would be a real punch in the gut.
Is the next 3 weeks crucial for the Padres to kind of
absolutely. Time is against them, and that's what I was also going to mention about the Mets. At some point, there's too much talent on the roster. They're going to go on a run at some point, but will it be too late?
All right, let's go to the American League real quick, and we'll briefly touch on it. We'll start in the AL West. Texas, they had a buttload of all-stars this past week. They look really good, but they only have a 2-game lead on Houston, and Seattle's there only 6 games back as well, and the Angels are 7 games back. That division, the next 3 weeks will be very crucial for all 4 of those teams. Looking at the Angels, if they win the next 3 weeks, they're not going to be sellers at the deadline. And I know the GM came out for LA and said, hey, look, I want to keep Ohtani. I don't want to get rid of him. But if they lose over the next 3 weeks, although they have a favorable schedule, to me, it's going to be a no-brainer to get rid of him because I don't see him re-signing.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit there, Steve, but I caught the Ohtani part. And yeah, if you don't, let's be honest, the Angels aren't making the playoffs. Mike Trout's out 4 to 8 weeks. You're not making the playoffs. You have to somehow. It'd be heartbreaking for Angels fans, but you got to get rid of Ohtani because you can't pay him. He's not going to re-sign there. He's never gone to the playoffs. So you got to get something.
Sad, by the way, the best 2 players in all of baseball.
Yeah,
have never been to the playoffs together.
Yeah, it's also kind of, I can't imagine how he feels, but it's Mike Trout. just the best player. I mean, he's one of the best players to ever play the game. But I mean, injuries have really, really,
Plagued his
really
career.
have plagued his career the past 4 years. I mean, he has not played in a lot of baseball the past 4 years. But when he's on the field, he is, I mean, one of the most exciting guys in all of baseball ever.
What about Seattle? Julio Rodriguez. They could be sleepers for Ohtani, right?
Yeah, and just this past week of the All-Star break, Shohei had said he had spent some time in Seattle. He had spent a few summers in Seattle, and he really loves the city. And the owners of Seattle are willing to spend the money. So I mean, that's a potential dark horse in the race. I mean, it'd be pretty cool to see him go there. Bring back the rich history of Seattle baseball.
It was kind of cool seeing Edgar Martinez and King Griffey Jr. And Castilla, I think, at the All-Star game this week, man. I remember those Seattle teams. They were crazy good. All right, AL Central, Cleveland, Minnesota, kind of neck and neck. They're at 500 teams. The AL Central is the worst division in baseball as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And it's not even close. And, to me, it's who sucks less out of that division.
Yeah, so I mean that's a tough division because for a while before the sweep this past weekend of the Twins by the Orioles, I mean the Twins had the best starting pitching ERA in the American League. So, to have the best starting pitching ERA and then to be below 500 is it's kind of crazy.
And plus 27 in the run differential though.
Yeah, and I mean they've got one of the best relievers in Duran, however you say it. So the Twins they're a frustrating team. I mean, they signed Vasquez this past season. They got Correa back. I mean, they've got a lot of talent on the team, but I mean, they're such a good team, but I mean, they're not winning like they should.
I totally agree. All right, last but certainly not least, the AL East. Tampa Bay, I know that they don't necessarily have the best record in baseball. The Braves hold that currently. But I think there's no more team equipped to win it all right now than the Tampa Bay Rays. To me, they're the best team in baseball, probably. And what's even great about that is they're only 2 games up in first place to the Baltimore Orioles, who you and I both root for. And they've also, let's be honest, the Orioles have come out of nowhere as well. So what do you think's going on in the AL East? Is that a 2-horse race, the Orioles and the Rays?
I mean, it's so frustrating because I mean the Orioles have been playing such good baseball and they haven't even touched first place in the division. And even when the Rays were just winning at such an elite clip, the Orioles were also winning at an elite clip, but no one even paid attention because they weren't even in first place in their own division. But I mean, you got to give all the credit to the Rays front office and their whole team, because I mean Kevin Cash does such a good job managing the team. I mean, people are still mad about the whole Blake Snell thing, but if you look at Blake Snell's stats after 5 innings, he is not as effective, even though this year, I mean, he's pitching lights out ever since Gary Sanchez signed with the Padres. But to go back to the Rays, I mean, just top to bottom, they just play such good baseball. They play great defense. They pitch so well, and they get the job done on offense. I mean, I don't know what they're hitting as a team, but I mean, I think it's crazy. I know, like in the past, they'd hit like 240 as a team, but still win 100 games. Like it's just crazy.
The last 2 teams in that division are the Red Sox at the bottom and the Yankees right in front of them, 1 game up.
Yeah.
Why are the Red Sox and Yankees not good? But having said that, it's not that they're not bad either. They're only 9, Red Sox are 9 games out. The Yankees are 8 games out. There's still 2.5 months left to the season. They could clearly do what they need to do to move forward in this thing.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees and Red Sox are obviously, it's so frustrating to see if you're one of those fan bases, because if you look at the AL East and then you go down to the Central, it was at least last week, it's in perfect order. Like if you look at the AL East all the way down to the last team of the AL Central, the records, it's in perfect order. Like the Red Sox would be in first in the Central. But I mean, if you're a Red Sox fan or, the front office, what do you do at the deadline? Because you're not going to win the division and you're in an uphill battle to even reach the wild card and you're above 500. But what do you do? Because, you don't want to, pack the bags at the midway point of the year when you've got a shot. But I mean, it is a legit uphill battle of 3 teams and they're all in your division. So
let's kind of briefly get to that. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers. This is back-to-back a baseball segment. Cam Clark, Division I pitcher from Towson University, myself, Stephen Daniels here. Let's talk about the trade deadline. Who's going to be buyers and sellers? And before you answer that, there's 3 wild card teams, and there's all these teams that are within 8 games of first place of their division. There isn't a lot of selling that's, in my opinion, that's going to go on. Is that a good thing or bad thing for baseball? And who do you see being sellers at the trade deadline?
That's a good point. I mean, baseball's I think it's a good point to be at, but they're at kind of a weird point as well, where there are a lot of teams that are like right on the fringe of, okay, what do we do? So it'll be interesting. Like last year, for example, the Orioles are a good example of that there. They were, within reach of the wild card, probably just realistically wasn't going to happen last year. So Mike Elias, I mean, I think he's one of the best GMs in all of baseball. I may be a little biased by that, but
I don't disagree with you.
He was a seller at the deadline, and that made 90% of Orioles fans go nuts. Everybody was so mad when we traded Jorge Lopez away. But, I mean, with that being said, you get Yanir Cano back and Cade Povich, who's down at Bowie, who's lighted up.
I think he made out in that trade very much.
We won that trade. It's crazy. I mean, Jorge Lopez was a great guy. I mean, he was having a great year for us as well. And to see him go really, really sucked. But then you throw Bautista in the closer role, and all of a sudden you've got the best in my opinion, the best closer in baseball. And it sucks that he gave up a 2-run home run in the All-Star game, because that was probably one of the only times people saw him
made that record go down. Daggone National League, 13 years of not winning.
So at the national level, people probably aren't as big on the Bautista train, but if you really dive deep into the stats and the K per 9 and his metrics, I mean, he's got the best pitch in baseball, and I think he is a top 3 closer in all of baseball. But to go back to your point of who's a seller and who's a buyer, I mean, I think baseball overall is just at a weird point, because there's a lot of teams that have a shot, but how realistic is that shot? And that's going to, obviously, the front office will decide that.
I'm going to name some names for you. I want you to tell me what you think. Will they be traded? Will they not be traded? Where could they end up? Or are they going to stay where they're at? You ready?
Yep.
All right, we're going to go Adam Duvall of the Red Sox, outfield. They're still within shooting distance of the playoffs, but he's somebody that I think could help a team that is in the playoff hunt, and he wouldn't cost too much.
I would say traded. I mean, he's done it before. I mean, he did it with the Braves. He's an immediate impact. He's going to hit home runs. He may not hit for the highest average, but he's going to make an immediate impact. I mean, I think he was a Gold Glove finalist in left field as well, so he plays good defense as well. So he's, I think, definitely traded.
What teams could go vie for his services, you think?
It's crazy how it sounds. A team like the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees, without Aaron Judge, they are screwed. And I'm sorry if there's any Yankees fans on here, but Aaron Judge is the Yankees.
Don't apologize to Yankee fan, Cam.
I know.
Yankees fans, Cam.
I know.
We don't do that up here.
Aaron Judge is the Yankees. And as long as he is out of that lineup is going to struggle. And that was a really annoying part of, last week. The Orioles ended up splitting the series, but the lineup that Aaron Boone was putting out there, I mean, it's the best lineup he could put out there, but it wasn't a good lineup. So
I think he's traded at the trade deadline. Chicago Cubs center fielder, first baseman Cody Bellinger. What happens with Cody?
I think the Cubs are in such a tough spot because, I mean, they could make the playoffs. And, I mean, I want to say it's been so cool to see Bellinger kind of come back to form, because, he was getting a whole bunch of crap from the fans and all these other outlets of people. I mean, he was once an MVP, and then he could barely hit over 200. And I mean, people don't realize the toll it takes on your mental health as an athlete in that way. So to see him come back to form and to hit for a higher average, hit some home runs again, and people don't realize, I mean, he's an elite defender at both first base and center field. So I think the Cubs should keep him and try and go for a little run. I like David Ross as a manager. I think they got the pitching to do it, so I would keep him.
Potential suitors for Cody Bellinger, according to what I'm reading here, is the Phillies, Guardians, and Mariners. Again, we'll get to Shohei in a minute and talk about him. All right, let's go. Let's talk about right-handed pitcher Jordan Hicks of the Cardinals. He's somebody that, his ERA has obviously peaked, but when he's good, he's really good. He's an impending free agent. And I think that he could help somebody's end of the rotation, maybe even long arm in the bullpen, depending on where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of the most electric relief pitchers in all of baseball. Obviously, with that being said, it's just because his stuff is so crazy, and there's a time his walk rates are up and stuff like that. But I mean, if you put him into a bullpen, into a spot where he's in a good spot to succeed, I think he will. So I think he gets moved. I mean, relief pitching is always a big thing at the
Do-
deadline. They move those guys all over the place.
Dodgers, Blue Jays, Rangers could
Yeah,
vie
that
for his services.
makes complete sense. I mean, the Rangers just acquired Aroldis Chapman, who he is having a resurgence type year. They also just signed Matt Bush to a minor league deal, who had spent a lot of time there, so he'll probably be back up in the majors in a few weeks. So wouldn't be shocked if the Rangers go heavy in relief pitching.
Tim Anderson, shortstop of the White Sox.
That's tough. I was actually looking at that yesterday because I read an article of like, what do the White Sox do with Tim Anderson? Because I mean, he's an elite talent. He's he's great. Hits for average, defends it pretty well, can hit for some power every now and then.
He has a $14 million contract option, team option next year. So
Yeah.
it's not like teams will be renting him for 2 months. They're going to get him. They could potentially get him for a year.
I want to see him. I want to see him get moved because I think he is so talented and he could, really help a team and be a face of a team. And I don't know if you've ever seen that clip, but there's a clip of when they were playing the Astros, he was on first base and him and Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson like mouthed, and of course the camera called him like, "I hate this effing place." So like the White Sox are not a place to be right now, and I think it would be cool for him to kind of get out and kind of get out of that funk because I think he would really flourish elsewhere.
Mariners, Brewers, Dodgers could all potentially vie for his services. That's the
Yeah. I mean, if he goes to the Dodgers, the fact that you just said that, I mean, it makes perfect sense. The Dodgers always find a way to acquire whoever they need to acquire, and that would
be a buyer at the deadline, and they're going to get somebody that's going to help their team.
Oh, absolutely. And to think, I mean, they just lost Trey Turner last year in free agency, so I think Tim Anderson could fill those shoes immediately. And I saw they just optioned Vargas down to AAA, who was their opening day second baseman, I believe. So they're going to need infield help. So it makes perfect sense.
34-year-old catcher Grandal out of the White Sox. Where does the catcher end up? Does he stay in Chicago? I personally don't think that he should stay there. I'm sure that there's a team that, needs a little bit of a bat and a very good veteran presence behind the plate that's making a playoff run.
Exactly. I was just you took the words out of my mouth. The veteran presence behind the plate, there's nothing better, whether it's, pairing up with a veteran pitcher or even a younger pitcher. So you're always going to need catchers along the ride to a World Series, and to be able to get a veteran guy like him who's going to hit 250 and hit some home runs. I mean, it's a no-brainer for some teams.
Paul DeJong from St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's an interesting he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about him getting moved at the trade deadline?
By
the way, it sounds like the Cardinals could be big sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I expect them to be big sellers and try and keep, the younger guys, like, the Alec Burlesons and they got a few pitching prospects that I would be shocked if they moved on from. But I mean, I think I'm not necessarily big on Paul DeJong, but I think his best years are behind him. I remember it was a couple of years ago. I mean, he was barely hitting over 200, but the years before he was hitting like 280, winning Silver Sluggers and stuff like that. So I think he is able to help a team, but I don't think he's going to make a huge impact. And I could be completely wrong about that. I'm not too big on Paul DeJong, but I would assume he gets moved.
And I got 3 people left. We'll start with Max Scherzer of the Mets. Does he get moved?
It would be tough. I think it would be tough for Steve Cohen to let his ego down and to, kind of accept that this year was a failure. But Scherzer does have a no trade clause, but I did see he's willing to waive it for certain teams.
Correct.
But I mean, it would be interesting. Who would those teams be? I mean, would
Rangers,
he go back?
Astros, Diamondbacks?
I mean, yeah, could he go back to the Diamondbacks?
If the Diamondbacks got Scherzer,
it would be insane. I mean, you also got to, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, the dark horse would be the Dodgers. I mean, Dustin May is out for the year. Walker Buehler is not going to be back till like late September, and the Dodgers can always use starting pitching. And I love Clayton Kershaw to death. He's one of the best pitchers ever. But I mean, he's always injured at some point during the year too. So it would be interesting to see if he would waive his no trade to go back to the Dodgers.
Juan Soto. Does Juan Soto get moved? If you watch the All-Star game on Tuesday night in the post game, there was Big Papi, Derek Jeter, and Alex Rodriguez. And Derek Jeter made this, said, hey, look, if the Padres lose over the next 3 weeks, he could see Juan Soto getting moved to the Yankees.
Yeah.
What would that move look like? And do you think Juan Soto ends up getting moved?
I mean, the Padres are in a tough spot because, I mean, like we were just saying, people link Ohtani to the Padres, but I mean, how are you going to, how can you afford all these guys? And if the reality is that you can't afford Juan Soto, you're not in first place right now. You're not even a wild card right now. So you might as well get something for him while you can, or else he's going to walk in free agency and go sign for $400-500 million like he deserves. So, I mean, I think the Juan Soto is kind of in a weird spot where we'll see over the next 2 weeks how the Padres are, if they make up any ground. But if they don't make up any ground, I mean, it may be worth it to move Juan Soto.
I'm interested to see what happens with the Juan Soto thing, because looking around the league, understanding what Juan Soto is, he's top 5 player in the league, essentially.
Yeah.
His contract is unbelievable. So a team that would vie for his services would have to take on that contract. And the Dodgers, the Yankees, Red Sox,
yes,
maybe the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers,
maybe Seattle.
It's crazy. It's crazy because when both Simeon and Corey Seager both signed with the Rangers a couple of years ago, everybody was like, holy crap, like, how are they spending all this money? And they're so bad. So it's pretty cool to see that kind of work out for them.
And the Red Sox aren't going to do it because they're just out of it right now, and there's no point. You know?
I mean, I think the Red Sox would maybe have a shot in free
agency. They got a lot of money tied up in the guy from Japan. What's his name? Yoshida.
Yeah. The hitter, right? You're talking about the hitter. Yep. He's hitting over 300. Yeah.
They got like $80 million invested in him, and
yeah.
And then that brings me to my last guy, Shohei Ohtani. You know, what are the pros for the Angels keeping Shohei Ohtani, and the cons? And what are the pros and cons of him getting traded at the trade deadline? And where could you see him ending up?
I think the pros in the Angels regard is the fact that he's on your team and you're going to get a whole bunch of, attention because he's on your team. But I don't think the only pro of keeping Shohei Ohtani right now is him not being on another team, because he's going to be able to help you when he's on your team, but long term, I mean, he's gone. So I think the only pro is, refusing to rip the Band-Aid off and letting him go. But I mean, if you're able to rip the Band-Aid off and let him go right now, you actually get something for him, because you're not re-signing him. You've got no shot.
I think the Angels should be sellers. I don't care what their thing is, even if they're in the wild card hunt, because you are not going, why not get something for him? Because here's the thing. If you keep him and you play the rest of the 2 months and you don't make a World Series run, and I don't see that they're going to, by the way, you're not going to get anything for him, and you're going to be left empty-handed and not have anything to show for it after having essentially the best player in all of baseball, maybe ever.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I think you've got to sell high right now, and as much as it sucks to see a potentially the best player ever leave your franchise, you got to get something for him. And the Angels are in a weird spot where they have not gotten over the hump in what seems to be a good amount of time. So, I mean, you got to either build the farm system up or, get some prospects and focus on, player development in this younger generation of guys, because at the major league level, you're not over the hump. So I think you got to find a way to get some guys for him.
Yeah, I would see that too. Now, if he goes, give me 3 teams in a dark horse. That is not the Mariners.
All right. Got to go Yankees and Dodgers right off the bat are the 2 teams that they're at the top. They can afford them. A third team would maybe be probably a team like, I mean, San Francisco is willing to spend the money on Judge. So, I mean, you'd think they'd be willing to spend the money on Ohtani. I don't necessarily see them doing it, but I would probably say the Giants would be my dark horse. But
really,
team,
Sam Fran?
Yes, I think San Fran would be a dark horse.
Interesting.
But a third team that would.
So real quick, I want you to listen to this. Yesterday, I talked about this with another fan on the show. Shout out to Lewis. And I had this thought process. He's going to cost, and by the way, what do you think his contract's going to be? Is it going to be $600-700 million probably?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to exceed 550. He's going to be touching probably $600 million.
Yeah. Okay. So he's going to be. There are only 4 teams that could probably afford that. Okay, and I do feel that there is a team out there that has got a playoff run, a small market team. To granted, you'd have to give up 3 or 4 really good prospects, right? And you would only be guaranteed him for 2 months. But could you imagine Shohei Ohtani in Baltimore? Could you imagine Shohei Ohtani in Tampa? Could you imagine Shohei Ohtani in Cincinnati? Like,
yeah,
that
I think it's also
fun. Any small market team that's in the hunt, I feel like, why not get them for 2 months? You're only going to get them for 2 months. But man, your fan base would be so electrified for that 2 months.
Yeah, and then if you find a way to go on a run and win a World Series, he's so much more inclined to sign back. You got to find a way to pay him. If you rent him and you win a World Series, he's got to be back.
Why would small market teams not be thinking about this? To me, it's a no-brainer for a small.
It is a no-brainer because you got to think, especially just like if you think just in a business way too, because the amount of money he's going to bring in just because of the fan attraction and the fan appeal. I mean, it's to your point. I mean, it kind of is a no-brainer because you're going to acquire the best player you're going to acquire the best player to set yourself up to go on a run to win the World Series, which is the ultimate goal. And he is the most fit to do that. So I agree with you.
My hope is that the Orioles or the Marlins or the Tampa Bay Rays would do it.
It's been funny because there's a whole bunch of pictures on Twitter of Shohei in a Lamar jersey. So people are like, "Oh, it's destined. He's coming to Baltimore."
Destined to happen. And here's the thing: like to me, you're never going to get a player of his caliber in your city again. You're never able to afford a player of his caliber. And like, this is a perfect storm for any small market team to say, we are in the middle of a World Series run. We're never going to be able to afford him. And all we got to do is give up 4 or 5 prospects. And you go look at them and you say, there's some minor, like the Orioles have the best minor league farm system. So they would still have players left over.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about the Orioles in specific is that they've promoted 5 guys, and I mean they've got 5 guys already waiting to be promoted again.
Kobe Mayo,
I mean, you've got Kobe Mayo, you got Kjerstad, you've got Connor Norby. You've got guys. This Cesar Prieto guy is just lighting it up.
Jackson Holliday's still there. He just got promoted to Bowie.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, and with that being said, you've promoted guys who are phenomenal. I mean, Joey Ortiz is going up and down. When Connor Norby does finally crack the show, I don't know if it'll be with the Orioles because I could see him potentially getting moved. He's hitting 285 with some power down in Norfolk, so it'll be interesting.
All right, man, this was fun. Did you enjoy
this? A good time. Yeah, this was fun. I could do this all day.
Well, Cam, I hope to have you back, man. For those of you who want to follow Cam on Twitter, it's at Cam_Clark5. And right now, you're kind of at a wait and see game of what your next move is, whether you're going to go play a year of minor, independent league, or go work in a front office of a minor league team or a college team. You're just kind of at a wait and see point what you're going to do right now, right?
Yep, you hit the nail on the head.
Well, Cam, I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much. Back-to-back baseball segment. Cam Clark, make sure you guys go check him out. Cam, thank you for coming on today, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. I'll see you later, man.
All right, man. See you. Bye-bye. All right, Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. That was fun. That was a good time. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was good. I like the baseball talk, man. I don't get to do a lot of it. It's there's no team I love more than the Dolphins. Let me just throw that out there, right? You know, that's why I do the show on a day in, day out basis. And we're getting ready to talk some Dolphins talk here in a minute. But I love baseball. Right now I'm wearing the new minor league team of the Atlantic League, the Frederick Ghost Hounds hat. You guys know my hat collection is on point, just so y'all know. Matter of fact, I'll turn you see that over there? Right there, that's all hats. And that's only like a third of all my hats. That's it. So yeah, man, shout out to the Frederick Ghost Towns, big time. All right, we're gonna talk some Dolphins talk here now. And like I said, Cameron couldn't be here this morning, so I had to bring on the other Cam for the baseball talk. And you know, I wanted to bring in a co-host of somebody who that I could debate with back and forth, and we could kind of go over some things. So I got a co-host today for the rest of the show to talk Dolphins roster predictions. I'm going to talk about, you know, some of the rookies, who are going to be some of the dark horses to make the team, where is there going to be cuts, how many players are going to be at a position. We're going to talk defense, we're going to talk offense, and we're going to talk a little bit of special teams too. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the Fins Tailgate, Mr. Color Commentary. What's up, baby?
Oh, what's up, Stephen B? Good morning, sir. Good morning, chat. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm kind of offended you didn't want me to come up to talk baseball, man.
I had Cam and I've been talking about it for a while, my buddy Cam. And so the just kind of presented
Oh,
itself.
I got you. You know, you don't want it to devolve into a bunch of St. Louis Cardinals talk. I know.
That we got into Orioles talk on a Miami sports network, so don't feel too bad about it.
But I would say, what do you?
Let me just finish up the baseball talk.
Sure.
What did you think about anything we talked?
Well, my main thought is, I mean, I was kind of going to ask you what you thought about the fact that the Marlins and the Cardinals share a spring training facility and kind of are pretty tight knit. You know, I mean, what do you think about the Marlins making a phone call and shoring up their lineup to try to make a run at the Braves? I mean,
I'll be honest with you. Nolan Arenado is getting moved. I'm 100% sure of that. Do I have a source? No, I just feel it in my gut. There's no, from everything that I've heard, St. Louis is going to tear down and rebuild and just stockpile their minor leagues and just start from scratch. And that's good. I think that they should. And because here's the thing, a lot of teams, Color, are looking at what the Orioles did. They saw after 2018, them get rid of Buck Showalter.
mm-hmm.
They brought in they gutted it. You know, they got rid of Manny. They got rid of Jonathan Scope. They got rid of, all their all-stars and players. And, they just gutted that team. And for 3 years in a row, the Orioles had losing seasons of 100 losses or more.
Right.
And all they did in that time was stockpile their minor league system in trades with people that were major league ready.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the number 1 overall pick twice because they had the worst record in baseball. And they were able to use that on Adley Rutschman and Jackson Holliday. And Adley Rutschman is a stud, absolute stud. And Jackson Holliday is the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. And I think teams around the league are looking at that and saying, that's how you do it. Like,
it's exactly what the Cardinals did before La Russa got there.
100%.
With Mosaic and all them, they operate the same way.
And the Marlins are doing that right now. The Marlins.
That's what I suspect.
And so, but now these teams have got to realize, okay, we're kind of in a playoff hunt. What can we do to make that extra step? So the Marlins have a pretty good minor league system. The Orioles have a good minor league system. Nolan Arenado's getting moved. Where? I don't know. And the other thing to this is you got to remember teams like the Braves and Dodgers, they always make a trade at the trade deadline.
Because those are the big, maybe not big. I mean, Atlanta isn't necessarily big market, but it's big market money. They're rich as far as that goes. So
I would love to see Nolan Arenado in Miami. And I'd love to see Shohei Ohtani in an Orioles uniform for 2 months. And I know that's all we can get out of him.
I don't know. I haven't followed much this
season. Market team to get Shohei. I just want
right. And the only concern is how would they end up affording that kind of contract? I mean, $500 million.
That's not the question, because whatever he's left on his deal now is a few million, right?
Right.
And so you get him for 2.5 months, and you're not worried about re-signing him. All you're doing is pumping up your fan base for 2.5 months and making a run at the World Series with him. And the only way you have a remote chance of signing him is winning the World Series.
And isn't he a
chance you have?
Isn't he a double player? Like, aren't you killing two roster spots with one guy?
You get a number one pitcher and the best hitter in all of baseball.
Right. So he's 60%.
So why wouldn't Cincinnati go after him? Why wouldn't Arizona Diamondbacks go after him? Why wouldn't the Orioles go after him? Why wouldn't the Tampa Bay Rays or the Miami Marlins? Instead of because here's the thing, teams like the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Padres, they're going to bid on him in the offseason. And they need to be like, screw it. We'll just wait the 2.5 months. We're not worried about this year with getting him. We don't have to give up any of our prospects. And we'll just bid on him. Let a small market team get Shohei for 2 months. It makes perfect sense to me. They're never going to get a player like that ever. Ever. They'll never get a player like that. They're not going to bid on
the overall game, too.
Yep. And 100% it would. Could you imagine Cincinnati getting Shohei Ohtani for 2 months?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. They would be. I mean, the Great American Ballpark would be fun to watch and go to.
Right.
I would consider getting on a plane, jumping to Cincinnati to just go see Shohei Ohtani in Cincinnati.
Right. Of course.
Unreal. So, that's my hope. I ultimately don't. I think he's going to get moved. I know what the GM said. I just think that there's no positive in keeping him. So I would love to see Shohei Ohtani in a small market team. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
And Nolan,
lastly, on the final thing I'll say is I'm kind of impressed with the Marlins.
They look really good, man.
Over 500.
They're the fourth best team in the American League, but they got to face Atlanta, right? And Atlanta's, they're really, really good. And so
the playoffs are the playoffs of the playoffs is a whole different story. The Braves were this good the year of the infield fly against the Cardinals in that one game wild card play-in.
By the way, last year the new rules kind of came into effect. So wild card is best of 3, division is best of 5. Championship.
I like that. I like that change. I think that should have been right off the bat.
But there will never be a 162 game again. I don't like that. They're gonna do. You don't have. They're never gonna have a tiebreaker game.
Oh, you mean like a 163? You mean?
Yeah, a 163 game.
Right.
Like
right.
That's happened. What? Once every 5 years, once every 6 years, you get it. Once every 7 years. But
right.
It's.
But I do like the 3-game series for the wild card. I understand that.
And it's all at home. The better record team gets home for all 3
games. Right. And I do understand what MLB was trying to go for with the 1-game playoff, but that's not baseball. I mean, they do 3-game series during the season for a reason. No, you can't tell who a better team is in 1 game of baseball.
Well, the World Series is weird too because they're 2-3-2 in the World Series. It's not 2-3-1-1-1.
Right. And so if you're having a 1-game wild card in baseball, that would translate to 1 game is a 3-game series. That's what that translates to. So they should have done that from the get-go. It's a good rule change, and I think forget how many extra days it takes. Nobody's watching baseball anyway. So what are you going to do? Add more time on the TV for yourself?
The last thing I'll say to it, and then we'll get into Dolphins talk, is just looking around, the world of baseball, having 3 wild card teams to me, and I kind of touched on it with Cam in the prior segment, is there are so many teams now that are not sellers at the trade deadline because they are within the wild card hunt, and that all you got to do is get in and you have a chance, right? So now, because of this format and having 3 wild card teams, you might get 3 or 4 sellers at the trade deadline, but there's only a limited amount of players that people want. And so now you got all these teams vying for 1 player. And I don't like that per se. I don't, I like when teams say, screw it, we're just selling. And then everybody gets a chance.
That's the part that that's the part that always takes me back away from baseball. It's like, I cannot imagine following a team that has already lost their season 25 games into the season. Like, I don't know how people do it. I like baseball, but I just don't like it that much.
As an Orioles fan, the last 3 years, I've gotten to see a lot of good talent come up from, the AAA to the majors, and you get to see the future. And now that future looks great. It worked. Was there 3,000 people at Camden Yards? Yeah, but it was still fun
at
to
the
watch
same time. I mean, there was only three. I know Lewis is going to hate me saying this, but there was only 3,000 people in Tampa during their World Series game. I mean,
unbelievable. You're right about that. You're right. All right, let's get into
let's talk about a real sport.
Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. I got color commentary co-hosting with me off of the Fins Tailgate Network. Shout out to the Fins Tailgate crew for lending me color for the day. I appreciate
haven't told anybody. I mean, I didn't tell Capitan.
I talked to Lewis and I didn't talk to I asked Cap what he was doing and so don't worry about it. You're good. You're good. I talked to Cap.
Okay.
And I've talked to Cap in the past about having you come on. And
well,
so
as long as you did, because he don't talk to me anymore.
He's too I don't know about that guy. He's weird. He's weird. All right, let's get into the breakdown of the 53-man roster. So, it's way too early, right? It's July 13th, but there's really not a lot else to talk about. So why not make some hot takes, some predictions of where this roster ends up? Do you want to start on the offensive side or defensive side?
Well, let's go defense because offense always sticks people more. Give me a second. I'm going to go turn down my other computer because I still have you on over on YouTube in the other room.
Look at you, man. Always doing it big. All right. For me, just looking around the roster for the Miami Dolphins, we're going to start. We'll start, I guess, in the secondary. There was somebody up on Twitter, a big name person. I forget who it was, but they did their top 10 secondaries in the NFL. And the Dolphins were not on the list. Absolutely asinine. To me, the Dolphins have the best secondary in the NFL from top to bottom. You got Xavier Howard, Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, Cater Kahoo, Cam Smith, Deshaun Elliott, Keon Crossan, Nick Needham, Verone McKinley, Noah Igbenogany, Elijah Campbell, Justin Bethel, Trill Williams. I mean, I just went through 10, 12 names right there. And they're just, there's young people in there that, Cater and Trill that I'm excited about. There's some veterans in there and Keon Crossan and Deshaun Elliott. There's the rookie phenom and Cam Smith. And then you got, Xavier Howard, Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, and Jalen Ramsey, who are, some of the cream of the crop of the league. And
we almost got enough to make a number 2 secondary in the league.
That would be a number 1 on most other teams.
Right. It would be the second best secondary in the league.
So it's last year the Dolphins had a lot of injuries that plagued the secondary. But this year you got to remember there's only so many spots, color. So my first question to you is, how many spots are going to be in the secondary? Are we 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
I mean, what's been our max? I mean, because I think what you said is probably very important. Number one, because of the type of things that Vic Fangio likes to do. He needs as many DBs as he can get. Secondly, the injuries that we dealt with last year. And thirdly, the overall increase of passing attacks in the league across, league wide. I mean, you cannot be short. We found out last year that you cannot be short on DBs in this league.
You could not be, but the fact of the matter is there's only so many spots. And
so what would you say? I say 9, but I mean, I don't know what you would say the max is.
Let's look at this, right? You got Xavier Howard, Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, Cater Kahoo, Cam Smith, Deshaun Elliott, Nick Needham, Keon Crossan,
who's wearing Dalvin's number.
Trill Williams, that's 10. Justin Bethel's 11. I haven't even gotten to Noah Igbenogany or Elijah Campbell or Bryce Thompson or Verone McKinley.
Now, Verone out of those guys might be the one that actually can challenge to make the team and not just the squad. Noah, obviously, I'm not going to get off Noah yet. Not as long as Shake is listening.
Look, here's the thing. I think a big part of how many people are going to be in the secondary color are how many people are going to be in the linebacking room and what type of defense is, Fangio going to run. Because here's the reality. Like, Noah, well, I don't want to say Noah. Y'all know how I feel about Noah. But McKinley, Elijah Campbell, Justin Bethel, Trill Williams, Bryce Thompson, even Keydron Smith, right? Undrafted free agent. Like, there's 5 guys there that I think in past years would have been no-brainers to make the squad. Some of them.
Well, I guess it depends on if any of those guys would be a surprise in camp.
Say that again?
It depends on whether you think one of those guys would be a surprise in camp.
Well, Trill
if
was
not, then we'd have to go with our standard, who we all think usually is going to probably make the team.
Well, Elijah Campbell was good when he did have to step in last year, right? And there were times he was overmatched and overpowered because he wasn't ready for that, but he had to do it. But nonetheless, I still think he was good when he needed to be. Justin Bethel, somebody that's the same thing. And Trill Williams was great before he got hurt, there was the excitement for Trill. So,
as well as
Verone McKinley too, there's going to be 2 or 3 people that could be the odd man out here. And, they could, and they're going to get picked up and they're going to make a squad and they're going to be impactful on their new teams.
It just makes me think that why would we? I mean, I guess we had to fill out a 90-man roster, but it's weird that we just pick all these guys up if we already are set on who, if we're keeping 9, let's say, and we're already set on who those are, then
I think we could keep 10 or 11. I'll be honest with you.
Okay. So let's start with the guys that we know that are locks to make the team and see how many that brings us to. So we already
did that a second ago, but I'll do it again.
Right, that was 10, right?
So we'll do it one more time. We'll start again. We got Xavier, Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, Cater Kahu, Cam Smith, Deshaun Elliott, Nick Needham, Keon Crossing.
Okay. And that's
9.
9. Okay.
All right.
I'd add Noah to that because there's no reason Noah is on the team. So
I don't know if he is, but we're going to get into that. All right. So I'm going to go through and you tell me, well, you think Noah. So Noah would be 10 for you, right? Does Trill Williams make the team? I think he does.
Well, who's left? And we'll see if any of them are worthy enough to be an 11th or 12th DB.
Trill Williams is. The Dolphins were talking about starting him last year before he got hurt.
Now, don't forget that that nobody forgets everything, and Elliott did step in it earlier when he first came in the building. So
Brandon says Keon Crossing is not a sure thing. We could save 3.25 if we cut him.
Yeah. If we're saving 3.25 million, he's kind of a cut. He
could be depending on how the training camp looks, right? But yeah, he's
like I said, he's also wearing Dolphins
talent. He won't get cut for talent. He'll get cut because of money.
Right. And who would that money go to pay? The guy who's wearing his number right now, number 4.
You're not wrong.
I mean, remember, Stephen D, in March, and I know people don't hold any water to this kind of stuff, but in March,
Cater Kahu's number 4.
I thought it was Crossing they gave 4 to
Crossing is
March.
27. Crossing is 27.
So it's Cater Kahu wearing number 4.
Yeah, and he's not going anywhere.
And we're not getting Dalvin Cook because there's no way Cater Kahu is leaving the team to give up his number.
Cater
They
Kahoo.
just gave it to him.
Cater Kahoo would give up his number in a minute for Dalvin Cook.
But if they didn't just give it to him, they just gave it to him in March. Why would they do that?
Because Cater Kahoo would be very happy to have Dalvin Cook on his football team and be like,
I think that $4.5 million offer was made in March. And when Dalvin turned it down, we turned around and gave Cater Kahoo his number. I'm telling you, that's what happened, bro.
Here's number 4. Let's go. We ain't worried about no Dalvin Cook.
I said it from the beginning, man.
I mean,
anyway, back to the roster.
So Keon could be a cap casualty, right?
At the end I'm thinking Deshaun Elliott ain't a shoe-in either. Because
Deshaun Elliott is 100% a shoe-in.
You think so?
Yes.
Even though he besmirched the
dude, I'm telling you right now, that dude is, let's not go talk about that tweet, okay? I don't, God forbid we get into that argument again, Color. I'm telling you right now, Deshaun makes the team. Trill Williams makes the team.
Okay.
Elijah Campbell, I think, is good enough to make the team. Noah, because of the first round pick, you got to think, is he still here?
And also, but we lose nothing, we gain nothing by cutting him. Like
Noah,
yeah,
not having him on the roster for a freaking year would be. I mean,
you gain the roster spot, but remember,
do you understand that how many years I've been pounding on the table to get rid of this guy?
Yeah, but dude, if we got rid of Noah when you first pounded the table to get rid of him, we might not have beat Pittsburgh last year.
I mean, there's truth in the Pittsburgh game, but maybe somebody else steps up in that situation because they're
isn't a reality. Noah ending the game is a reality.
Noah over the cap.
He also shut down Adam Thielen, which wasn't having as great a season last year, let's be honest, but still,
so
I mean,
if we cut him, we'll save $3 million if we cut Noah.
Oh.
Cut his ass. Be gone.
I'm not allowed to say that, bro.
Yes. Hey, look, for Noah, yes, you are. And I'm telling you right now.
If I say that, I will be out in the ocean with everybody else drowning, and I won't have my place on the ark anymore.
Dude, Noah's got to go. No, it's a dead cap hit. Am I reading that wrong? Okay, I did read that wrong. You're right, Brandon. Thank you.
See, now pull up Shake's comment.
Noah is hemabignoggany.
Noah is him benogany.
Him benogany. No, he's not. He's not him. Noah is not him. All right. So yeah, the dead cap is $3 million, and we save $500,000. All right. Well, yeah. So I don't care about $500,000. But at the same token, for $3.5 million, I'll say we just eat it if he's a liability compared to everybody else that's in the secondary.
Liability? How is ending a football game a liability?
Noah's not good, bro. He's not.
How is ending a football game a liability?
He did. So he had one good play. Great, awesome, appreciate it. Do you realize that he only played 9 games last year? He played 9 games last year. He played 9 games the year or 7 games the year before that.
And how many games did Trill Williams play last year?
He was hurt.
I know. That means a big fat 0.
Snap count. He played in 39% of the snaps last year, and that's only because of injury, and played in 17% of the snaps in 2021 and 28% of the snaps in 2020. Noah made one. I like what Wayne says. Noah's made 1 good play in 3 seasons. Wow, superstar.
He's our secret assassin, man.
No, the hell he's not, Color. You better shut that crap up. I'm telling you right now, Noah better not make this roster. I'm just letting you know. Better not. In no way, shape, or form. If Noah's making this roster, I'm sorry. Like, he does not deserve to be here.
Well, we'll keep him on the out. And for right now, and see if we can cut enough people to have a 12th spot to put him in.
I don't know about that. Now, like, all right, I could see Keon Crossing getting cut, right? The $3.5 million savings is a positive, right? Deshaun Elliott, he just signed here. The Dolphins, he was one of the first signings in free agency. So
Yeah.
he's coming, right? Cam Smith's gonna get snaps. Cater Kahoo's not going anywhere.
Best tackler on our team.
And Justin Bethel's a beast on special teams.
But why did we not roll with Justin Bethel last year? Didn't we relegate him to the practice squad originally before everybody got hurt?
Justin Bethel.
I thought we pulled him up when everybody got hurt or when we realized Byron wasn't coming back.
I'm trying to look right now. Bethel's been in the league 12 years. Holy cow.
Yeah. See, I mean, he's like your rental journeyman. He's like your, hey, we're making a run and need another DB because somebody got hurt. It's week.
He played 8 for Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, New England, Miami.
Yeah, he's actually a good DB.
Presbyterian College.
You know what's funny? When I heard Justin Bethel, I'm like, wait a minute. He's good, ain't he? I've heard it. Or maybe that was his father. No, you're saying he's been in the league 12 years. It was actually him.
Well, I mean, look, Brandon says Crossing or Bethel, I think, might just keep Crossing one more year. He also plays special teams too. You're right.
Yeah.
Look, so I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I haven't had any problem with Crossing. Like, I haven't seen him.
So, all right. So here's the real question, Color. It's 9, 10, or 11. If you keep 9, Verone McKinley gone, Noah's gone, Elijah Campbell's gone, Justin Bethel's gone, Trill Williams is gone. If you keep 10, Trill Williams probably stays. Verone McKinley. I honestly see the Dolphins keeping maybe as high as 11 people in the secondary. And I still don't think Noah will make the roster with 11.
Well, you're going to have to tell. It's your show, so you're going to have to tell Shake that I'm voting to put him in.
Shake, the Dolphins will have 11 people in the secondary make the squad, and Noah will not be one of the 11.
I vote in.
I'm kicking him off the island. He's got to go. He's a liability.
I did my diligence. I voted to keep him.
You're just covering your own butt, so you don't have to deal.
Right. I only got 3/4 a vote on this show, though. So.
All right, let's go to the linebacking room. Bradley Chubb, Malik Reed, Duke Riley, Jerome Baker, David Long, Channing Tindall, Aubrey Miller, Andrew Van Ginkel, Cameron Good, Jalen Phillips, I guess, too. How many linebackers do we keep? If we're keeping 11 people in the secondary, you got to think there's going to be a limited number of linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Chubb's making the team.
Yep, Chubb, Phillips, they're both.
Well, I by the way, I see Phillips as a defensive end. I don't like putting him in the linebacking room, but I guess.
I know, neither do I, bro. But the league insists, and all these people insist on doing that, man.
Shake Money with the $5 donation.
Like, I swear, thanks, Shake.
He said that's color commentary is the goat of the Fins tailgate. # Noah's Ark. Noah's gone. Okay, that's what it's going to be. He gone.
But
David, all right, hold on. Bradley Chubb, David Long, Jerome Baker. I don't think you get anything from him for cutting him.
Well, people are talking about him being a surprise cut.
What?
I mean, if you ask the question about surprise cut, or I should say surprised, but not really surprised, not shocked. You know what I mean? A lot of people answer with Jerome Baker, like he might be the man out. Don't tell El Capitan that.
Don't tell El Capitan that.
Yeah, he might drive off the road or something.
I'm trying to look right now for what is it, Jerome Baker, right?
But yeah, but as far as the D end and linebacker thing, or D tackle even, I'm pretty sure I was Mandela affected when it comes to Derek Thomas being a linebacker, a DT and not a linebacker, dude, or a D end and not a linebacker. But you go look now, he was a linebacker. I'm like, no way they were not calling him a linebacker back then. Unless I'm being totally Mandela affected.
So Jerome Baker, there's no cap savings. It's a $17 million cap hit if you get rid of him.
Oh.
There's no way in God's green earth that Jerome Baker gets cut.
Talk about cutting Baker then.
I don't know, but whoever there is, you don't listen to him.
Besides, he's got a great smile, dude.
Now you trade him, you can save $8 million if you trade him.
All right.
Could Jerome Baker be somebody that gets traded?
Ooh, I bet Harbaugh would like to chomp on him on his defense.
That's interesting to know. Chomp on him. All right, so we'll go Chubb, Baker, David Long.
See, Gabriel's saying that Derek Thomas was listed as a linebacker on the football cards back then. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm being Mandela affected then. You know what I mean?
Van Ginkel makes 4. Channing Tindall's 5.
I don't see Tyndall on the end, bro.
You don't think Tyndall makes the team?
No, if he can't contain the edge, bro, there's no way Fangio is going to be able to use him.
So timeout. You think that Channing Tindall, who, let's be honest, hasn't even got a real shot yet, okay? For whatever the reason, whether it's talent or whatever.
He's gotten more of a shot than Cameron Good.
Out of UCLA?
Because of his draft position and his expectation.
Fair. He was what was he? Third rounder, right? Channing Tindall was third round.
Right.
Okay.
But could have very well been drafted by Green Bay first in the first round. You know what I mean? So here's my point that I'm trying to say to you, Color. You're saying a third round pick, which is a pretty decent pick, is getting cut in his second year. Meanwhile, our first round pick of Noah Igbenogany from 3 years ago is still on the team. Color, make it make sense, please, because how many games have you seen Channing Tindall end?
He's played 1 year. It took Noah 3 years to get that play. Don't do that to me. Channing Tindall makes this team.
It's a different position.
Channing Tindall 100% makes this team.
Well, he's got some work to do then.
So, David Long, Jerome Baker, Bradley Chubb, Andrew Van Ginkel, Channing Tindall. That's 5. Does Duke Riley make the team? Malik Reed?
I'm pretty sure Malik Reed is a pretty decent one.
Malik Reed.
I remember hearing his name called a lot in other games, you know.
And Cameron Good.
See, Cameron Good is my guy, bro. I really like Cameron Good. I don't know why he hasn't seen the field. Maybe I'm just flat wrong, and the experts know more than me. You know what I mean? But
young guy, I thought he was good. I like Cameron.
I mean, the guy can get in the backfield. You know, yeah. I mean, he blows up offensive lines. And another thing I noticed from his college tape is he is very adept at containing the edge on running quarterbacks. He doesn't let quarterbacks get around on the edge. He'll keep them trapped in the backfield. He's a good linebacker. I don't know why we haven't seen any action out of him. But that's college stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
5 people, 5 linebackers, not including, by the way, Jalen Phillips.
Not including Jalen Phillips. Then, yeah, I'd say.
So Duke Riley's on the out. Malik Reed's on the out. Cameron.
Again, this is where I would take Duke Riley over Channing Tindall.
Really?
I mean, motor, experience. He's not as tall as Channing.
I love Duke Riley. Let's get that straight. I love him. But if we're keeping, let's say we do keep 11 people in the secondary. Duke is going to be the odd man out.
Well,
But
and that's
here's-
fair,
so
and that's fair
here's
because look, our biggest problem on linebacker has been open field tackling.
correct.
Fangio is not going to have any of that.
So here's my question: would you rather have Noah Igbenogany or Duke Riley? You better say Duke Riley.
Yeah, I guess Duke Riley because I'd rather have the linebacker.
Right. Now, would you rather have Trill Williams or Duke Riley?
Duke Riley.
I would say Trill.
Well,
would you rather have Justin Bethel or Duke Riley?
Easily Duke Riley. But here's the thing, bro. Nobody in our linebacker, okay, other than the guys we just brought in, nobody in our linebacking group can tackle better than Cater Kahoo. So, you know what I mean? Like Fangio's not going to have any of that. So what I'm saying is pretty much everybody in the linebacking room could be blown up and be expendable. I don't think anybody in the linebacker room is safe except for maybe Andrew Van Ginkel because he made it a point to tell everybody he was going to try to start using them on the inside.
All right, let's go to so then you think 6, not including Phillips, which means that you're probably at 9 or 10 for the secondary.
Yeah, I suppose. But and when I said that nobody's safe in the linebacking room, I mean, obviously Chubb, you know, the guy we just traded or brought in from Tennessee and Jalen Phillips. I mean, I know there are people safe, but I'm talking about these guys that we're all talking about to pepper in to fill in the spots. I don't care to keep a nair one of them if they can't tackle.
A nair one. I think the question is going to be going into training camp, and not even just training camp. I'll say the 2 inter squad practices that we have, as well as the preseason games, is we know Fangio's not going to show the defense he's going to run, but the question's going to be, are we going to see more movement in the secondary or more movement from the middle linebackers? Because the questions, or middle and outside linebackers, because the question's going to be, do you keep 9, 10, or 11 in the secondary, or do you keep 5 or 7 in linebacking? And the question, I think, will be for that 6th and 7th spot in the linebacker, or that 10 or 11 in the secondary, is out of those 4 positions, potential spots, all right, what guys in the secondary and what guys in the linebacking group can A, hold in coverage, and B, open field tackle. You agree with that statement?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So Duke Riley, can he open field tackle? Yes. But can he hold his own in coverage?
Probably not as well.
Nope. Malik Reed, can he open field tackle? I think so.
I'd like to believe the guys we brought in were brought in because that's what they show on tape. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure if it's noticeable to you and I that we can't tackle in the open field, that it's probably noticeable to Vic Fangio.
And see, that's why I like the secondary guys, right? Like, I think Bethel can open field tackle, and he can obviously be in coverage, right? Keon Crosson's the same way.
Agreed. I think you're right. I always prop up Cater Kahoo for that, but I think Crosson is a great open field tackler too. Absolutely.
I agree. But that's why I think there's going to be more secondary people making the squad than linebackers. And that's why a guy like Duke Riley, or maybe even to your point, Channing Tindall, doesn't make the team and becomes the odd man out. Because the Dolphins are going to go with 11 or 10 people in the secondary over 6 or 7 linebackers.
Right. Because, and especially if you're doing like a 4-3-4 or a 4-2-5 or something, you're kind of even if you're pulling up, if you've got 4 linebackers and you're pulling up 2 of them to the line and acting as DNs, like you and I are suggesting anyway.
Well, yeah, and real
your
quick,
depth at linebacker doesn't necessarily have to be quantitative, just qualitative. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and to be fair, for the past years, and I know it was a Flores defense in some of those examples, but we saw that Brandon Jones can easily go up to the line of scrimmage and make a tackle in the backfield and sack the quarterback.
Again, Javon Holland as well.
Yep.
Sent on the blitz like a whole bunch of times this first season.
So to me, secondary wins because of coverage, as well as they're good at open field tackling, right? Over the linebackers. So Channing Tindall, Malik Reed, and Duke Riley, my guess would be 2 of the 3 of those do not make the team.
Well, I think, where'd Malik Reed come from? I want to put the face on it.
Malik Reed came from, he played in, it's his 5th year in the NFL. He's a free agent, undrafted free agent by Denver. And then played in Pittsburgh in 2022. Played last year for us.
Well, he did play last year for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we already had him.
No, I'm wrong. He played this year. He played last 2 years for Pittsburgh, if I'm correct.
Oh, okay. But he was in Denver, not in Fangio's year, though.
No, I'm wrong. 2021 Denver, 2022 Pittsburgh.
Right. So he
signed this year in 2020.
So he played for Fangio in Denver.
Yes, he did.
I don't see him going anywhere.
So then you're right about that. If he is a Fangio guy, you are correct.
That's no different than River Craycraft not going anywhere, or Jeff Wilson and Mostert not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Okay,
so I guess one of those two could go somewhere.
So Malik Reed, because he's a Fangio guy, is in. And I would agree with you.
Not just because he's a Fangio guy, but because we hired Vic Fangio and then we brought in Malik Reed. You see what I'm saying?
And then Duke Riley and Channing Tindall. What happens with those two?
I'd go with Duke over Tindall.
And that's if we keep 10 or 11 in the secondary.
Right.
Now, we haven't even gotten to Cameron Good or a dark horse that everybody seems to love, the undrafted free agent
Aubrey Miller
from Jackson State.
See, one of those guys, that's what I'm saying. One of those guys could leapfrog Tindall and take Riley out. For all we know, until Fangio gets his eyes on those guys. So maybe I am right about Good and Boyer was just wrong. You know what I mean?
By the way, entirely plausible, right? Entirely plausible that that's the case. Malik Reed, Duke Riley, Channing Tindall, Cameron Good, Aubrey Miller going to get a lot of snaps in the preseason, right? You got to think those guys will get a lot of snaps.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not running the secondary that we're going to be, or the defense that we're going to be running in the regular season, and we're running basic, vanilla defensive packages, what do we as fans, what should we look for to see if a player is going to be good or not? Because we can't
open field tackling.
Okay. Is that it?
I mean, you're really looking at, I'm not trying to be flippant. Like if you look at the fundamentals, you look at, look, even in a vanilla defense, you have to be able to contain an edge.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to do certain things, that those positions require to even have a chance to understand what Vic Fangio is going to want you to do.
Now, to be fair, Color, I asked that question, and I know it's offense, but Eric Ezukama had a hell of a preseason last year, and then we never saw anything from him in the regular season pretty much because he couldn't grasp the playbook. But he was great with the vanilla offense in the preseason.
Right. Well, because he's talented, Correct. So he relied on his talent, much like Skyler relied on his talent.
Ryan AP says Tindall did appear to be lost in the sauce when he got the playing time. Hopefully he don't look lost this year. because he's got all the physical traits to be great.
I think they want Tyndall to work out, so I think on the linebacker
I mean,
issue,
don't you want any third round? Don't you want any draft pick to really work out, especially
of course, but also because of his metrics, you know what I mean? Like
so
or his measurements.
Let's say that Tyndall makes the team because the Dolphins want him to work out, and they do, and Greer has a history of keeping guys because they're a third, second, or first round draft pick, right? So David Long, Jerome Baker, Bradley Chubb, Andrew Van Ginkel, Channing Tyndall, Malik Reed. That's 6 linebackers. That doesn't include Duke Riley. That didn't include Cameron Good or Aubrey Miller.
Or the guy with the greatest smile, Jerome Baker.
No, I put Jerome Baker making it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So the 3 men out are Duke Riley, Cameron Good, and Aubrey Miller. And I'm excited to see Aubrey Miller. I think he's a great undrafted free agent out of Jackson State.
I'm
not saying he's going to make
good. He's good. I can't see them just bringing him in to genuflect on the HBCU thing. You know what I mean?
Well, you know how I feel about that, right? Like, I think a lot of these, I've preached, I banged my hand on the table, banged the drum. I think a lot of these HBCU guys, given the opportunity to play in the NFL, would succeed, right? They just need a place to be able to.
That's what I'm saying. And they must have seen something, because if they're just genuflecting, then why doesn't every team do that?
Yes, and
I agree. Make themselves.
Aubrey Miller had a great college career at Jackson State,
right?
And he worked with Deion Sanders, right? So, and Deion knows defenses, and he had nothing but positive reviews for Aubrey. Nothing. Couldn't say kid could be a star in the NFL, was his words. So, I think there was
Sanders has been right about.
There was 1 or 2 drafted HBCU guys. That was it in the entire draft. Disrespectful, by the way, and stupid. But Aubrey Miller's got to have some talent if Deion's saying that, right? So,
and I would think that they'd want to favor him, like they'd want, like they're rooting for him. Which, hey, it's like, oh, you had a good play right there. Oh, good deal. Now sit on the sidelines so we don't have to see you do something bad. You know what I mean? Like,
J.R. Black Miller was a projected 4th round pick and didn't get drafted.
Right.
All right. So you think 6. That doesn't include Duke Riley, Cameron Good, or Aubrey Miller, which goes to your 9 secondary, where I have 11. Right. So your 9 and 6 is 15 players there, right?
Okay.
All right. Let's go to outside linebacker / pass rusher. Right? Jalen Phillips, Emmanuel Ogbah. I think those are like your hybrids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Chubb, I have him listed in the linebacking group, but he's probably a hybrid too. Right? He's a pass rusher. He's a natural pass rusher. Same thing with Phillips and Agba. What's the deal with Agba? What is your take on Agba this year?
I don't really have one, to be honest with you. I mean, I think like it's pretty apparent that he didn't necessarily play up to the contract we gave him this year, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to mean he's not gonna.
Yeah, he's staying on the team because he's a $17 million cap hit. If you trade him, which nobody's taking on that contract, so he's not going to get traded. I think he's here this year no matter what, and he should be. He's talented, right? I love the guy.
Mm-hmm. And he may, hey, if he can smell his own stink, then we'll see a better Agba.
I just want him to stay healthy.
No, that too. I mean, if we're on a run and we end up showing that in the first few games of the season,
over under 8.5 sacks for Agba this year.
I'd say over because 8.5 is isn't that kind of small for a guy like him? Isn't that kind of low for a guy like
I
him?
mean, I feel like Agba should be getting 13 or 14 yearly.
And yeah, I would say over even if he just hit the 9,
Yeah. But he hasn't done that. But I also,
Or where is he at last year?
he was hurt last year.
Hurt last year, and in the year the year that earned him the contract, what was it?
I'm trying to.
I mean, everybody should get more sacks this year because if we're looking at, focusing on coverage more with Fangio, then, you're going to see a few of those missed fingertip tackles, sacks turn into sacks. You know what I mean? Like coverage sacks should increase.
Christian Wilkins.
And if coverage sacks don't increase, then interceptions are because our secondary is coming.
I'm trying to find Christian Wilkins' numbers. I mean, not Christian Wilkins, Agba. There we go. Agba's numbers, 2016 through last year. Okay, so tackles last year, he only had 11. But he was hurt, right? So he had 41 the year before that combined, plus 26 solo. And sacks, he had 9 in 2021, 9 in 2020, and he's never had more than that.
So that's where Vegas is setting the line at. That's why it's at 8.5? You said?
I just said 8.5 personally. I didn't even look at that.
Okay,
I just was like 8.5 sounds right.
Okay.
I think he's good enough to get over 8.5.
If he's healthy.
What is the pass rushing going to look like in a Fangio defense? Like, that's going to be. I'm interested to know what that's going to look like, especially if we're playing, 3 guys on the line, and 3-2, whatever, 3-2-6, right? If we have 6 people in the secondary playing on the field at the same time,
or a 4-2-5, and you're bringing up the
I would love to play a 4-2-5.
You might cheat the linebacker / safety, up on the line. You know what I mean?
I personally would love to play a 4-2-5, and you put Agba and Phillips at the end. You rotate Chubb in there, right? And you let Christian Wilkins and Seiler eat, and we're 8 or 9 wins into the season. You bring in Ndamukong Suh for the rest of the year for $2 million after week 8, week 9, and then you have, you have Raekwon Davis, Seiler, Wilkins, and
you give up everything to the tight end across the middle, pretty much, and keep it contained.
Tell me that wouldn't be great.
Well, it would be great because we'd have a lot of guys that can cover a lot of short space inside the 20.
From the secondary?
Right.
Yeah.
Even if we are giving up all the yardage in between the 30s.
Who cares if they're not getting touchdowns, though?
Right.
If it's not resulting in points.
Right. And occasionally you're going to get a pop across the middle with a turnover or,
All right. So let's look at the rest of the defensive line. So the rest of the defensive line is Zach Seiler, Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, Jalen Twyman, Josiah Bronson, and I didn't even get to the undrafted rookies, which I don't think any one of them are going to make the squad. I think Raekwon, Christian, and Seiler make the squad, obviously, right? And then Emmanuel and Christian. So that's just 5. That didn't include Bradley Chubb, right? So Emmanuel, Agba, and Seiler, Davis, and Wilkins in the middle. So only 5 on the defensive line make it. That doesn't include Chubb, by the way. And you have 6 making the linebackers,
Right.
and you have 9, 15, 6. You have 26 making the squad, if I'm doing my math right. 9 plus 6 is 15, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not doing that math right.
Yeah, how did I get down to 9 DBs?
You said 9 DBs.
Did I?
Yep.
Oh.
And you said 6 middle linebackers. That's 15 plus 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21. Because I can't do math for anything. So 21 people on the defense.
Well, don't we need 22? Like a backup for every player.
Yeah. I mean, how many?
Maybe I do go 10 DBs.
Say that again.
Maybe I do go with 10 defensive backs.
Okay. So there we go. There's 23. And then Jake Bailey, Jason Sanders, Blake Ferguson on the special teams. 23, 24, 25. That sound right?
Yep.
So there's half your roster minus 3 or plus 3, whatever. Because
we got the long snapper.
Yep, I got Blake Ferguson in there already. Yep. My personal opinion, that's why I think 11 make the team.
11 DBs.
Yeah, so I think 11 make the team, and that gives you 27 on defense and special teams.
Right.
And that leaves you with an additional 21 spots on offense. Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
All right, well, let's go to offense.
Quickly though, Raphael, 4-1-6. I mean, you wouldn't really call it a 4-1-6. It would be more that you go with a 4-2-5. You have a tweener type linebacker, strong safety type, like a safety, and like some of our safeties are, and you cheat him up to the line as a linebacker, or cheat him up to the linebacker to the middle from the secondary to kind of act as a linebacker. But yeah, you'd only effectively have one linebacker on the field, or you may cheat the tweener linebacker DN type guy from the middle to the line and make that the fourth line guy with a 4, and it would end up effectively being a 4-1-6.
All right, so Color currently has 25 people on defense and special teams making it. I have 26 because I think they're going with 11. I think you moved up to 10 in the secondary to make 23, I think, or something like that.
All right, Steven, we're gonna have to go lo-fi color for a second because I've got to reboot my desktop. But you're gonna see my other avatar come up here.
Your other avatar, lo-fi, Steven.
Yeah, my lo-fi color in here in just a second.
Colin, while you're doing that, Colin asked, "Can you see my hat?" Here's my hat. It's the Frederick Ghost Towns. My hat game's on point, Colin. Love my hats. Okay. All right, let's go offense. You ready?
Give me just a sec.
Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Hit it, tap it, whatever you got to do to it. Just make it happen. Whatever you got to do, just hit the like button. Donate to the channel, help the channel grow. Somebody was supposed to pay EM Swearjar. Who was supposed to pay EM Swearjar yesterday? I think was that Cruz Ruiz? Who was supposed to pay? Who was on here yesterday saying that they were going to pay his Swearjar?
Who's Swearjar? Crypto Swearjar?
No. EM Swearjar. Somebody.
EM can afford his own Swearjar, man. Don't let him perpetrate
EM had a
that
$44
nonsense
Swearjar, and somebody was like, "I got you tomorrow, Steven."
Man, he can afford his own dang swear jar. Don't let him perpetrate that on you.
Our Cesar did. Cesar Ruiz. He's the
Oh,
one
okay.
that did. Okay. All right. Well,
Well,
where's Cesar
Cesar's
at?
just a good guy. That's, you know.
All right. Okay. You ready? You ready to go offense?
I'm ready.
Let's start wide receivers. I think that's a good place to start, right?
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Jalen, Tyreek, Barrios, River Craycraft, Robbie Chosen. That's 5. 6 would be Cedric if we don't trade him, which I would like to. Eric Ezukama 7, Braylon Sanders 8, Freddie Swain 9. I think we go with 6 wide receivers. Jalen, Tyreek, Braxton Berrios, River Craycraft, Robbie Chosen, and Eric Ezukama.
And who did we leave out? Because I might trade out Easy E for one of them. Who did we leave out?
I see you walking down the stairs.
Oh, I hit the wrong one. Yeah, I've got to, because of this nonsense, I've got to bring in my Italian herb plants here.
Doing work while you're co-hosting. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 6, right? I think 6, and Easy E's a part of that.
Right. So who is left out if I were to trade Easy E out?
No, well, Cedric Wilson is out.
Okay.
Braylon Sanders is out, and Freddie Swain is out.
Okay, I could go with that.
And I think Ezukama makes the team.
I'm comfortable with that. Barring anything we don't know about Eric as to why he hasn't seen the field yet.
Allegedly he didn't understand the playbook last year, but allegedly he got that together.
Well,
So
I mean, maybe that does take time.
Okay, but let's say if he doesn't, then I could totally see Freddie Swain or Braylon Sanders swooping in for that last spot.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this is all contingent on Cedric getting traded. Because if Cedric doesn't get traded, Eric doesn't make the team.
What do you think if that Dallas scenario plays out? Do you think they package Cedric up with Mostert to go to Dallas? Or let's say, since Dallas wants Mostert and not Wilson, but we want to get rid of Wilson, do we package him up with Wilson to entice Dallas to take Wilson instead of Mostert?
I mean, I would love to see. I feel like you said the same thing twice there, 2 different ways. But yes, I feel like Cedric. I want Cedric gone. You get rid of him, you get $7 million added to your cap. It's a no-brainer to trade him. I would play him the entire preseason. He would get a majority of the snaps. I would make him my number 1 the entire preseason. And just let him do his thing. And that way teams will be calling for him. It's exactly what Ezukama did last year, in theory. But I mean, I would just want Cedric to be that guy in preseason. And then teams are like lining up to go get him after preseason's over. Right before first week. All right, so 6 on the wide receiver side. Okay. Let's go to the tight end. You ready? I didn't hear you, Color.
Yes, sir.
All right. Durham Smythe, Eric Saubert, Tanner Connor, Elijah Higgins, Tyler Croft, Julian Hill. Durham Smythe, Eric Saubert, Tanner Connor, and Elijah Higgins make the squad. There's 4. Last year we had 5 make the squad. Do you see Tyler Croft being a 5th?
I could. Absolutely could.
If we have 4 and we don't trade Cedric, could that be where maybe Eric Ezukama gets to stay and be the 7th wide receiver and we only keep 4 tight ends?
That's possible. And in that case, I would say Tanner Connor would be on the out, but he's only in his 2nd year. So I'd hate to say that they would do something like that, but
so
hey, look, real quick, if somebody's going to tell me that the reason we had Tanner Connor in on that drive was to see if what we had as far as a tight end handling a crucial situation, well, he failed the test, so he may be on the out. You know,
I mean, that's plausible. I know that they're high on Tyler Croft, you know.
well, and Tyler Croft did have a stint where he was consistently putting up good performances, you know, so he's got it, you know.
Elijah Higgins isn't going anywhere. That I feel like the Dolphins drafted him for a reason.
Right.
Actually, you know what? I'm not convinced he will make the team because remember he is learning tight end.
But he can act as your 5th tight end and your 7th wide receiver.
That's possible too.
So that gives you the ability to get an 8th wide receiver or a 5th tight end. You see what I'm saying?
I guess the question would be who's better, Eric Ezukama or Elijah Higgins? Who's going to be better in the preseason?
Well, I mean, who's going to be more effective for our team? Because again, they're pushing him into tight end role, even though he's a pure wide receiver. So I don't know.
So you don't know.
In other words, he's not competing directly with Eric other than value to the team.
Do you think Eric? Do you think you don't think Tanner Connor makes the team though?
If I had to choose somebody to be on the out, then I mean, yeah, you had your shot to show that you're above and beyond, and you weren't above and beyond.
All right. I mean, so then you have Elijah Higgins and Tyler Croft, and that's 4. And Tanner Connor's getting cut.
I mean, look, if we were in the business of saying, okay, well, even in the tight end room, a 2nd-year guy has preference because of, you know, he was a draft pick and all that or whatever, then why did we draft it? Why did we draft a wide receiver and then come right out and convert him to a tight end?
Because
if Tanner Connor was like had a permanent spot. Because
the Dolphins and you know what? I appreciate.
Why wouldn't we just use that guy as a wide receiver? Is what I'm saying.
Here's my other thing too. Part of the wide receiver that we need, or the tight end position that we need, is somebody to block. So you drafted a wide receiver to block at the tight end position.
And that's the thing. I'm not so sure. But we don't. I mean, not to telegraph anything, but the thing of it is that if the guy can run a wide receiver tree from anywhere up and down along the line of scrimmage, that could make up for the fact that we're telegraphing a pass play with him in the game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. So let's say this then. Let's go. All right. Well, then here, let me ask you this. Alec Ingold, John Lovett at the fullback position. Last year, Alec Ingold played a lot from the tight end. Partially because of his injury, partial because we needed somebody to block in those 2 tight end sets. Does that determine if we keep 4 or 5 tight ends?
Possibly. I just, I would say that Alec Ingold needs to, either we need to stop with the fullback passes or he needs to, get on the jugs machine. But blocking wise, I mean, I don't know if we're also pulling back guys like Durham Smythe from the tight end spot and motioning them into the fullback spot. So right. you got a point there.
Well, I don't think John Lovett makes the team, but Alec definitely does, obviously. So
right.
So Alec. But I will say that Alex, I think, gets more backfield stuff too, unless Dalvin Cook comes here. If Dalvin Cook comes here,
wasn't Alec Ingold a little banged up last year too?
He hurt his hand. That's why he was playing at the tight end to just block. He couldn't do
right, which is also why we were dropping back tight ends into the fullback spot. More than likely.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I'll say this: as long as he's 100% healthy, I could see him getting snaps in the backfield this year. Now, if Dalvin Cook comes in, he won't, and he'll just be a straight up fullback that is in a lot of the tight end sets. Which I think that means Tyler Croft and Julian Hill are out the door.
Well, I mean, yeah, true. And as far as the Dalvin Cook goes, don't forget that a blocking fullback like Alec Ingold. I mean, just because you have a blocking fullback and you're running an I formation like that, or even whatever that sends the fullback in the hole before the running back. Like, just because you have a star running back doesn't mean you don't do that still. Look what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers used to do with All-Star.
Mike All-Star, baby.
Yeah, and their running back was like some shifty small back all the time. Like, I think they had work done for a minute, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of people are comparing A-Chain to a guy like Warwick Dunn, so Cook also. I mean, not Cook comparing to that to Warwick Dunn, but as far as having a guy like Ingold descend up the middle into the hole before Dalvin Cook hits it, that can be a pretty powerful thing.
I'll say this. I think that there'll be 4 tight ends, 6 wide receivers. That's 10. 11 with Alec Ingold. And then you have running backs, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devon A-Chain, Salvin Ahmed. And so there's 15 right there. And we have.
Well, we talking about the full running back room yet, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, if I do that to that extent, that's 15. And I want to say we only have 20. I think the total we had left was what, 20?
Well, did you have us getting Dalvin on this or no?
No, I don't have Dalvin in here yet.
Okay. So I was going to say, because in that case, either Gaskin or Ahmed still has a chance to make the team, right? Without Dalvin Cook.
Ahmed's making this team, even if Dalvin Cook comes here.
See, that's where you and I will disagree. I think Ahmed is the odd man out. Even if it comes down to between him and Gaskin, I think Ahmed's the guy out this time around.
I believe that they're going to have 4 without Dalvin. If they bring in Dalvin, they'll have a 5 running back room.
You think?
Yes, 100%.
Wow, that's a lot of running backs for such a passing team.
So last year we had 5 running backs and 5 tight ends.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
So I feel like he's going to do that again this year, especially when he's been adamant about saying that he's going to stick to the run a lot more this year.
I'm not so sure that's what he was saying, bro. I really don't.
I mean, that's how. I mean, he said, "I'm going to." He blatantly said in the press conference, in the end of year press conference, Color, I need to stick with the run more. I plan on sticking with the run more next year.
See, that's still a loaded statement, bro. That's not like he's not. I don't think he's saying that he's going to run the ball more as far from a year-over-year standpoint. You know what I mean? Or a game-over-game standpoint. I really do think he's talking about stick to the run when the run's working, or stick to the run when it calls for you to stick to the run.
Well, I think Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devon A-Chain, Salvin Ahmed, Miles Gaskins, I don't think makes the team if Dalvin's not, or even if Dalvin's not here. I think Gaskin is gone.
You think?
No matter what. Yes, no matter what.
Okay, so because A-Chain finally is better than the 4th string running back.
I think A-Chain,
which we expect him to be. I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying we expect him to be.
I'll do you one better. And now here's the other thing too. If we get Dalvin, does Raheem get traded? We didn't even discuss that.
Again, I'm not going to say it's out of the realm of possibility given what the reports that have come out of Dallas. Because that's the guy they want.
I know. So let's say Dalvin comes here. I'll say this. If Dalvin comes here, Devon A-Chain becomes the number 2. Not even Jeff Wilson.
That's
A-Chain will
possible.
skip over him.
That would just be, of course, contingent upon everything going well for A-Chain and camp. Like he gets the offense and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that's contingent upon that.
I could see that happening. I'm not saying it will. But Dalvin's not on the team yet. So with that being said, I'm going to say Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devon A-Chain, Salvin Ahmed, Alec Ingold, obviously, and Gaskin is the odd man out. I think they go with a 4 running back room this year with the 5th being Ingold. And by the way,
I really truly think that Ahmed has not done enough to disprove Gaskin, bro.
Well, let's go with your theory. Do you think there's 4 tight ends or 5 tight ends? Does Tyler Kroft make this team or not?
I would have to go based on our extra need of protecting our quarterback. I would say 5 tight ends. That would be my final.
So you have 5 tight ends, a fullback who plays tight end, and you're going to have 5 running backs?
No, I would put Gaskin and Ahmed out in that case.
You're only going to go with 3 running backs?
No, I thought you said 5. I thought you said, so who do we got? We got.
So hold on, listen. All right, I'm gonna break it down. You have Durham
without
Smythe,
Dalvin.
I understand. You have Durham Smythe, Eric Saubert, Tanner Connor, Elijah Higgins, Tyler Kroft making the team. That's 5 tight ends.
Right.
You have Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devon A-Chain, Salvin Ahmed, and Myles Gaskin taking the team.
No. Okay, in that case, I would trade out Gaskin for Ahmed.
Oh, so you're only having 4.
Right.
Okay. And then Alec Ingold becomes your 5th because he's a fullback.
Right.
So that gives you 10. 10 players.
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing that math right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Correct. All right. Let's go to the offensive line. I still, you're at 10. I'm at 11, by the way.
Okay.
Actually, no. You're at 10 and I'm at 10, but you have 5 you have 5 tight ends and 4 wide receivers. I have 5 running backs and 4 tight ends.
Okay.
Because I don't see Tyler Kroft making the team. Okay.
I don't have to have Tyler Kroft making the team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like convinced of it. You know what I mean?
And by the way, this is all contingent on Dalvin not being here. Okay. Just want to throw that out there. Okay. Offensive line, everybody's favorite part. Teron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson, Kendall Lamb, Isaiah Wynn, Dan Feeney, 6, 8, Robert Jones, 9. And then you have Jerron Christensen, Ryan Hayes, James Tunstall, and Alma Uvalde.
That's an interesting name.
So I'm going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go 9 offensive linemen make the team.
Okay.
So 9 offensive linemen plus the 10 I have between the tight ends and running backs, along with the fullback. $19 plus 6, $25, because I have 6 wide receivers making the team.
So that's
25.
over. We're already over then.
Yep.
Didn't we have like 21 to work with?
We had 22 to work with is what we had. So there's
okay.
3,
So we got to cut 3 players basically.
3 players.
Okay.
So let's start at the O-line.
Okay.
Kendall Lamb, Isaiah Wynn, Dan Feeney, Robert Jones.
Ooh, I actually kind of liked Kendall Lamb before he got hurt last year.
Me too. I liked him as well.
But I guess it depends on what Feeney does in camp, unless he's a lock because of his contract.
So Dan Feeney or Kendall Lamb, one of those two. Does Isaiah Wynn automatically make the team? Obviously, I would say.
did we give him a bunch of money? Because I would say not necessarily based on figuring out why Belichick got off of him, other than just knowing that Belichick is a hard, hard person to work with. I don't want to just chalk it up that Belichick was a hard guy to work with, but you know how that is.
I'm trying to look for Isaiah Wynn's contract right now. All right, here we go. Isaiah Wynn's contract is 1.9 or 2.1 mil with a guaranteed salary of $1 million.
Yeah, so he's locked.
Yeah. And if we cut him, it would be $2 million in dead cap.
Right. Yeah, he's on the team.
Isaiah Wynn is on the squad. So then
that means that we believe it was Belichick is the issue there. So
okay,
we're
so
giving
then
him a shot.
Kendall Lamb or Dan Feeney. You got to get rid of one of those two.
Well, we just brought in Feeney, so I'd hate to say it. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would lose an opportunity. I don't know. I would guess cut Kendall Lamb.
We're doing a 53-man squad for people who do not know. Okay? Just so everybody knows.
I guess if you want to make a surprise hot take cut, then
people are trying to be like, Steven, there's 47 on game day. Why are you worried? I'm just worried about the 53. That's all I'm doing. Doing the 53 here.
Yeah, do they ask that question of everybody that does a 53?
And you know what? Here's the thing. We didn't even include the quarterback.
Oh, well, we don't need no quarterback, man. Come on.
Tua, Mike White, and Skylar Thompson.
Quarterback. Quarterbacks are overrated.
So what did I say? 25.
Just ask Tony Sperano. Just ask Tony Sperano how important quarterbacks are.
I'll just
So we got it. Right, so we got to cut 3 more. Did I cut out for a second?
Hold on. 28 plus 20 is 51. No, we don't. We don't have to cut anybody.
Okay.
Because we had 20. I think you had 25. I had 26. So I would have to cut one person for me. And it would,
So I guess you got a decision to make at quarterback, don't you? Do you keep 3, or do you get rid of?
Yes, you keep 3, 100%. I already got kicker and punter when we did the defense, just so everybody knows, and the long snapper.
Yep. What about the guy that holds Mike McDaniel back from running onto the field?
He's not part of the 53-man roster, Color.
Oh, okay.
For those of you who don't know. I think if I had to cut one person from my squad, I think it would probably come from the linebacking room. Actually, no. For me, it would probably come from the running back room.
Yeah, so you're going to only go with 3 running backs?
No,
were you at 5? You were at 5, so you've got to really make that decision. You know, with Salvin Ahmed, man.
No, I think Gaskin is gone. I don't think.
Right, but don't you have to still cut one more?
What did I say? I said 5 tight ends. All right, so I'm cutting 1 tight end.
Who gets it? Who gets it?
Tyler Kroft is gone.
Okay.
And if I had to cut a running back, Myles Gaskin would be gone.
I think that's what I said about Kroft too. Like, that's why I ended up already cutting him, because it's like I really don't have to have him, dude.
And then Cedric. So look, here's the thing that we've kind of gone over. Number 1, Cedric Wilson needs to get traded. Number 2, Eric Ezukama needs to know the playbook. Number 3, are we having 4 or 5 tight ends and 4 or 5 running backs? How will Alec Ingold be utilized now that he's 100% healthy? Going to the defensive side, what does our defense look like? How many linebackers are we going to have? And if that is the case, Channing Tindall, Duke Riley, and Malik Reed, are you getting getting rid of one or two of those guys?
Right.
Because that's going to be the bubble, right? And then on the secondary side, your bubbles are Keon Crossing because of cap casualty, nothing more than that. Verone McKinley, Elijah Campbell, Noah Igbenogany, and Justin Bethel and Trill Williams, which is a lot of bubbles. We will have 3 quarterbacks next year. Let's stop the noise about 2.
I agree. Bunch of noise about 2 quarterbacks.
And I still think the Dolphins can go with 11 people from the secondary because, as Color and I predicted, it makes more sense to have more people on the secondary because they can open field tackle and play the linebacker position. You have me on sound somewhere else. I'm getting feedback, just so you know.
Oh, sorry about that.
So, yeah, I think that that's the case there. Anything stick out for you from our conversation, Color, about the 53?
Not really, except there's a few decisions to be made, but none so crucial that any one of them are going to defeat us. To be honest with you, I kind of like where we're at.
Me too.
There's the lingering question about Dalvin Cook, but as Lewis likes to point out, I don't think it's going to make or break us as far as Super Bowl contention, because simply if you look at the roster we just put together, if you get the execution that we should expect, I don't think there's anybody we can't beat.
All right, and let me ask you another question, Color, from the standpoint of the Dolphins. If Dalvin Cook doesn't come here, do they still sign another veteran running back, and could that person be Leonard Fournette?
It could be, but I think that talk only got drummed up because the people that don't want Dalvin Cook needed an alternative. But at the same time, it's more like, why are we even bringing in a running back? Once that argument got settled to where it was like all of a sudden we're not arguing about whether we get another running back or not, but whether it's Dalvin Cook or somebody else. Once that conversation started, then yeah, the somebody else is Leonard Fournette, and I've already made my case that it's a way more cost-efficient move than to go with Dalvin Cook.
And you think that you think Deshaun Elliott might not make the team?
Well, as a joke, I mean, I don't think they're really going to hold that on him like that. But you never know with this organization, man. So there's always internal Dolphin politics going on. It's just where it rears its ugly head. You never made the joke.
And what do you think ultimately happens with Cedric Wilson? Does he get traded, or is he in a Dolphins uniform week 1?
I'd like to ask him that question, to be honest with you, because if he believes he's going to be a Dolphin, then I don't see why he wouldn't be.
I hope that he's not,
because then that means we're all guessing stuff we don't know. We're speaking above our pay grade. You know what I mean? If everybody's happy,
we all are doing that. Let's be honest.
Well, I just mean that if everybody involved on both sides is happy with him, then we're talking out our butt. You know what I mean? And he's gonna be here. But if all the nonsense is true, which it tends to be, where there's smoke, there's fire, I think he's probably out of here, man. I think we're gonna try to find a trade partner for him.
One of the things that we didn't also talk about, I had Brandon Kornblue, special teams coach, nationally respected, Jason Sanders' personal kicking coach, come on to the show about a month and a half ago. If you guys
really, and I missed that. Where the heck was I at?
Well, if you missed it, it's on our YouTube page. If you go look at it, I have it uploaded as its own thing, Coach Brandon Kornblue. Guys,
man, I had a couple questions for that guy, man. Dang.
Go listen to it. It's a great conversation. One of the things that was discussed or that he brought up was Jason obviously being a great kicker, was missing some kicks the last couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, think about this. Part of a great kicker is he has a great place kicker. Somebody
Placeholder.
holding the
Right,
ball.
right.
And that is the punter. And the Dolphins are going on their third punter in 3 years.
Right.
Jake Bailey, Michael Turk are going to be battling it out in camp. But more importantly, they're going to be the ones holding the ball for Jason Sanders.
Right.
So I think that's something else to keep an eye on, because he said, without saying it, maybe part of the reason Jason was missing some of those kicks was how the ball was being placed. The laces were
or at the very least, consistency of the ball being placed. Like you know, an exceptional placeholder does it right every single time.
He goes, if you go back and look at the kicks, he wasn't missing them by much. He was missing them by a little. And that's it. So that he's like, that tells me it's not him. It's,
you also see some of the kicks, especially like some of the extra point ones or some of the short ones that he's missed, where it's like, man, his form and everything was perfect. His foot through the ball was perfect, and it goes up straight for like 20 feet, and then boom, spins off to the right. It's like there's something else wrong there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Like that ball ain't starting off right with the right trajectory, you know?
Correct. 100%.
But,
and then another thing that I haven't talked about is kick returns, punt returns, and kick returns. Braxton Berrios obviously going to see that a lot. I'd like to think that special teams will improve tremendously this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't necessarily think, though, that Braxton Berrios will be seeing it as much as everybody thinks if he turns out to be a really, really good slot weapon. You know,
according to the depth chart on Over the Cap here, or not on Over the Cap, on Our Lads, which is where I'm seeing the depth chart, which I like ourlads.com. They have Cedric Wilson and Raheem Moser as the backups to Berrios, but there's a slight chance that both of those guys might not be on the roster come week 1. So if Berrios isn't there, who could be returning kicks for the Dolphins next year? If Berrios gets hurt, or if they decide to do somebody else, even if Berrios is on the team.
Right. You would resort to a D-back or something, a young D-back.
I'll tell you a name I've heard: Robbie Chosen, returning kicks.
What about Cam Smith?
Cam Smith is somebody else who did in South Carolina. He can definitely do it.
You know, I'm just saying that, like, how often, and maybe I'm wrong, how often did Welker return punts after he finally became Welker?
Well,
because if the right coaching staff and the right system gets a hold of a guy like Berrios, he really could graduate to that level. And then what do you do at punt return? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. Today was Throwback Thursday. I had my man Color Commentary hanging out on the morning show with me, the best morning show.
I think Capitan will be sending you the invoice in the mail, bro.
Okay. So I'm put it on my bill. I hope you enjoyed doing the show today, man.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure, bro. I always enjoy chopping it up with you, man.
Yeah, man. I like to get other people's, ideas of how they see everything, and stuff. Tomorrow I'm gonna have Jason on with me, Jason Sarney. I'm
glad we actually found a few disagreement points too. Otherwise, it would have been like super boring show. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you and I see things differently about the team, and I think that makes for a good conversation and a great debate, especially when it's done correctly. So, which I think you and I have pretty good chemistry with. So I'd love to have you on more often, man. You're really good.
Sure, anytime, man. And you owe me a hot dog if Gaskin makes the team.
Look, you got to talk to the hot dog man himself, Crypto, with that one. I don't know anything about no hot dog. Crypto. What's your final thoughts, and plug whatever you want to plug?
Well, everybody knows where you can find me. I do all my stuff on the Fins Tailgate. We're how we do over there. I have been opening things up with Ali in the morning, first thing, 6 to 8 a.m. with Top of the Tailgate. And once more of the content starts flowing in, camp coming by, rolling through, and the season starting, I will be following that up consistently with a coffee and a cup of color show for further morning or even afternoon commentary, because you always blow up during the season too. So probably afternoon commentary. But either case,
it'd be good. You go Top of the Tailgate 6 to 8, 8 to 9. You go check out Miss Finn's.
You know who?
Yep. 8 to 9:30, whatever, and then come over here around 9:30, and then I take you up till the afternoon. And
that's kind of it could work out like that. It certainly could work out like that.
And I think that'd be a good way to do it.
So look for that. Make sure you're subscribing to this man right here, and get over and subscribe to the Finn's Tailgate. I know most of your audience probably already has, but if you're new to Stephen D's audience, or you used to hate us and now you don't, go over there and subscribe to us, man. We're up over 5,000 now. We're growing, man. We're growing at a pretty fast clip this offseason compared to last offseason, man. It's been really good. We appreciate everybody, and I always appreciate you, Stephen D, for always making sure everybody knows where to find us, and being kind to all of our hosts and everybody on our team. So
got a lot of love for you guys over there. You guys are great.
Likewise.
All right, man. Be good, bro. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do.
I shall not.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was Throwback Thursday here on Clock Blockers. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I want to give a big shout out to Color Commentary for helping me out today. Also, my man Cam Clark came on. We talked baseball. That was a lot of fun talking baseball this morning for my baseball peeps. For those of you that donated a couple dollars, I really appreciate it. It goes such a long way. Cruz Ruiz donated $2. Wayne donated $2. Shake Money donated $5. Thank you so much for the people that donated today. If you guys shared the link or liked the link or became a member to the channels, I appreciate it. A lot of fun. Next Thursday, we're going to do Cameron Scott will be back next week. I promise you. So we'll do that next week. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing more baseball content with Cam, the other Cam, the Cam you saw this morning. So be on the lookout for more baseball content with him. It was really good. I enjoyed the show today. If you guys need me, you can always follow me at Stephen D SKPL. Spread kindness, positivity, and love. Be good. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do. I love y'all. We'll see y'all tomorrow right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. Peace.
I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter column. Whole squad been trained to go. Been for life, we throw the foe. Singing this just to welcome bro. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time.